Hi, everybody. Well, there's actually nobody here, not even Perry. I got a phone call early this morning. It woke me up because remember we have the 3 hour difference, and um, and that's why I'm on Avatar. They said, Sharrell, go live right now for the Diddy trial because the unthinkable is about to happen. They're saying that they think that the unthinkable. I'm like, what is the unthinkable? And they're saying Diddy might be released today. Go live now. So I'm here. I'm live. I'm not even dressed. Perry said he's gonna go get shave, shower, and that I can hold it down if something good happens. I don't know if I believe it, but if it does happen, you guys, I'm thinking that those rumors were true. That everybody told me Donald Trump would never put in a good word for Diddy. I mean, people really felt strong in their conviction, and I thought it too. Because after a while, when so many people tell you he is not going to do anything for Diddy, if this man is released today, I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it. What's happening to our society today? You've got a felon for a president. You giving Diddy a chance. If this is true, I'm gonna cry. Yeah, they knew each other. They knew each other. I did a whole report on it, but I heard that they had fell out for the last couple of years. Oh my God. This can't be true. This can't be true. I'm going to lose it because don't forget, I care about the victims. And it's turning into a circus act. It's turning into a circus act because everybody's covering the story. The whole world is covering it. And I believe some people are lying. Sorry, I just do. Some of the victims, like Drea English. If you are a true victim, I'm sorry for not believing you. This would just be a disaster. So I guess I haven't even combed my hair, you guys. I look a mess. But I don't but anyway, I got the phone call. Go now. Uh expect the unexpected. They think he's going to be released. I don't know why they think this. That's the stupidest shit I heard. If they do release Diddy, I'm going to lose it. And y'all going to have to hold me up. I'm going to be cussing. I'm going to be crying. Hell, I might even throw a dish. I would lose it. I will fucking lose it. Oh my God. Anyway, I guess let me go over. I guess they're already recording. Let me go over there. Hold on. I didn't even. I'm crying. You guys, I'm crying. I'm crying already. Hold on. Let me see if I can see who's live now. Oh my God. Oh my God. I will lose it. I would lose it. She said, don't worry about it. She said, what? Okay. I'm live now. No, I just don't believe it. I just don't believe it. I'm not saying it's not true. I just don't believe it. Yeah, I'm going right now. Okay. This is going to be okay. Well, I don't see no, not now. Okay. All right. Let me nobody. So I don't know why she said that. I don't know. Hold on, guys. This is on the spot investigating. I mean, they're live. It's just a blank screen. Hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Let me just. All right. So we're waiting. This is too early. Okay, so we're an hour early. I got a phone call telling me that start airing the case now. Be the first one to report it because they think that Diddy's going to be released. This is crazy. This is crazy. I haven't even put out a thumbnail yet because my hands are shaking. My hands are shaking. I'm hoping she just got some bad information. I don't know. Perry is showering and trying to get ready to come on. And then we're going to take turns because I just woke up. This is ridiculous. I don't know I don't know for a fact if he's released. It's Donald Trump. Those were the rumors. I hear rumors just like you guys hear rumors, and then I hear that they're not speaking, and I don't know. This would just be a mess. See what you guys are thinking. Someone said relax. No, I can't relax because if it's true, I'm warning you guys, I will lose it. Let me do this thumbnail and then I'll start taking you guys' comments and you guys tell me what's going on. This is just, I don't even know what I'm waiting for. So this is a relax live. I'm going to talk to you as I get the information. I wish you could see my face. I look a mess. Hold on, I'm getting it. Perry. No. What's going on? What did she say?
Oh, just basically that it's nothing determined, but they just think, oh, because of in 3 months you don't have all these 3 bail hearings. That's not normal. You're supposed to have new information. In order to get another bail hearing, you got to have something else come up. They don't really think that they're gonna get released. They just saying it's setting up. Like, how many chances do you get for bail release?
Oh, well,
That makes sense.
All right, I'll talk about it on here. Can I have some? Go on so I can. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Can you hurry up and then we can take turns? I just want to brush my hair before I'm on camera and then I'll tell them everything that you're hearing. Okay. Okay. They're saying that if he wasn't going, I have to have Perry repeat it. I did send you a link. Yeah. Hold on, guys. Perry's coming on. Ugh, I'm tired. Hold on, guys. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be released. I'm not in the hoopla. I just don't. Someone says his defense raised that yesterday. Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, I'm just going to be calm. I don't think it's going to happen. They cannot release this man. Let Perry come on and explain to you, do the lawyer talk. This is crazy. Why would they release Diddy? This is crazy. Let me start. He's too dangerous and people will be missing. No, it's not a joke. It really will. Okay. Tell me what you heard. Tell me. So we have somebody that's following the case. What did she say, Perry?
They saying, yeah, that they don't really think he's gonna get released, but they saying that it's suspicious that he's getting all these opportunities to get one. So
what opportunities is he getting?
Well, once you deny bail, unless you come up with some new information that change it, they don't give you the ability to ask for another one. But they feel like that he's given too many chances. It's like every week. I think the first day he had a bill, then had a bill 2 days later or something. You know what I mean? Like, how many opportunities? Typically,
So
when you strike
she's
out, you
saying
strike.
she's saying it looks like he's going to get it.
No, she don't believe that he's gonna get out.
Then why
Right.
did she wake me up?
Well,
What is she saying? Go ahead.
she just basically saying in her heart don't believe it. Like you might not want to believe it, but
I don't believe it. I
then
can't believe
okay,
it.
basically it's like if you keep giving a person 1,000 chances to win something and increase their odds, why is he giving so many chances to ask for bail? It's not normal.
I mean,
So
I get what they're saying, but
it's just a feeling.
because
It's
you're
just like, hey,
saying why even you would have just said no. That's what you're
what is that?
saying.
What? What?
They would have just said no. That's it. It wouldn't have been your formal hearing and all of that. You could bring them in. See, I see that you requested another bail. No, but so why would they have all these formalities? I get it, but I don't believe it. I don't. I
Oh,
just don't.
well,
I'm not trying to be difficult.
I'm just saying personally, I don't think he'll get out
Hmm.
with all the stuff happened this week, and I don't see enough that have changed some change in evidence that would give him bail. You know what I mean? I don't, but
Well, I guess I'll go over the stuff that we decided not to go over, which is the five, was it 5 or 7 more lawsuits? This is
yeah,
crazy. The whole
yeah.
thing is crazy. But that does, oh, and also Tony Buzbee came out. I don't know if he came out, but we got a quote. He said that the case against him doesn't hold any merit. So
Oh yeah, talking about the not the assault on this young lady.
no, I'm talking about there's supposed to be a high profile person that's suing Tony Buzbee. And I feel it's Denzel Washington
Oh
because
yeah,
of
that
his
okay.
his behavior the last couple of days. So
Yeah,
hold on, I'm making a thumbnail and then I'm gonna come on and talk about it and let the audience see what they think. Everybody's saying it's Denzel Washington. And I'm getting a lot of crazy, not crazy, but Denzel Washington stories
yeah.
about, yeah, the way he's a constant womanizer. He's been a womanizer, been cheating on his wife since the beginning.
Mm.
So I'm trying to go as fast as I can. I got to talk about that. I can, and I don't even see the chat right now because I'm on a different page. So they're saying it's Denzel Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I probably thought it was crazy until he started talking about being on drugs and on the white powder and on heroin. He actually said, oops, I wasn't supposed to say the word. He actually said it,
Uh huh.
that he used to shoot up.
Yeah, I
Oh
remember.
my
So,
God.
well, so what? I did it. I did it till I passed out. Just hurt my
I
health.
just don't see Denzel Washington being like that. But if you
Well,
admit it, I guess you were like that.
well, anytime a person come out and say, "Yeah, I did all that," so what? I mean, I'm fine. I ain't never have a problem with it. I just couldn't stop doing it.
Well,
You know what I mean?
even his explanation was kind of weird because he said, yeah, I used to do it. He never said it was bad. He said, but I wasn't strung out. So I don't
Right.
know what he means by that.
But he mean that, I did it, but it doesn't affect me. It don't change my personality, none of that. But I was never dependent on it. But if you did it all the time, it's sort of like you depend on it. Look, it's just like breathing.
Doesn't
We
make
do it
any
all the time, but we're
sense.
dependent on it. Go ahead.
This all the stuff doesn't make any sense. I can't wait to read the chat. I'm just making a thumbnail right now, really quick.
Yeah, no, you threw me off with the Busby thing because I had seen this morning when I was trying to have some coffee that I guess one of his previous clients, Busby
Hmm.
clients,
Hmm.
came out and filed a suit, assault charge against him.
Wait, what?
Well, okay. When I first read it, like now everything's just catchy, right? They throw out a
Right.
title just to be catchy. And then
Uh-huh.
I'm like, well, you out here going out to Diddy, what you done did? But it's supposed to have been some client he had in the past that is no longer a client. He ran across her in public, and I guess they had a conversation or something. And a champagne straw or something. I guess he was supposed to shove it in her face. They call it a
What?
champagne something, like I don't know if it's like a little stick or something. Shoved it
Uh-huh.
in her face. It's supposed to have chipped a tooth or something, and she's supposed to have dental records for it. I don't know.
This
But when you see the
wow.
headlines, the first thing you assume is that he must have been at a Diddy party. You know, these days when people get charged with something, it's not petty crime or something. It's something big like a Diddy party. So basically, it's just like to me, I'm not sure if the case good enough, but why ain't she suing back then? That would be the question.
Yeah, this is crazy. Hold on. I
Well,
lost it. I just lost it because when she said the expect the unexpected,
mhm.
and I said what? And she said, we're thinking he's gonna release Diddy.
Well,
I
but
lost it.
but
Just the
okay.
thought of that.
Well, and the thought is real, right? At the end of the day, we don't know what's gonna happen, and we'll be around to see. But the thing is this, Sharrell, like anytime you get an opportunity to be
Mhm,
free,
mhm.
it's an opportunity. Now, whether it happened or not,
They are not going to release
well,
Diddy.
I
They
my
are
first
not going to release it. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of upset that I got woken up. I appreciate it, but I appreciate it, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
you
And
know,
so I
Sharrell,
wasted a lot of sleep. Hmm.
I know you asleep, but I think people feel the way you do. When they hear it, they like, damn, I don't want this to happen. Let me call. I mean, their emotions start going. Then you start grabbing your phone, waking up Sharrell.
I
You
mean,
know what I'm saying?
I appreciate it. I'm not upset, but
Yeah.
you know, I'm
No,
just not.
I understand. But like I said, personally, I don't think. But the thing is, half time when you go to court, a lot of people go in there thinking they're, oh man, ain't gonna be no problem. I'm getting out of here. And they go the opposite way around. Nobody knows what's gonna happen.
All right, so let's talk about this Tony Buzbee thing,
Mhm.
and then I'm gonna go and brush my hair and fix up.
Okay.
Okay, so let me pull up this article you're talking about. He, hold on a
Yeah.
second,
So
'cause that's
I mean,
interesting.
while you looking, did you find it?
No,
Okay, let me see if I can find it.
I did not. Is this more Diddy stuff?
I mean, but almost like nothing shocked me these days. But like we said, everybody's just chasing that coin one way or the other, or attention.
Now, they're saying that the I see a whole bunch of lawsuits about the mysterious person, the celebrity that's suing Tony. So did you hear that? They're saying that it's Denzel Washington.
Yeah, I mean that's what people saying. Yeah. Hmm.
But I will say this. Okay, so let me hear what before. Do you guys think that Denzel Washington is suing Tony Buzbee? Oh, and then they also outed Deshaun Watson, and you said that he has a past of doing things to women.
Okay, yeah, a lot. I mean, he been in the pros. I guess I don't know 8 years. I say, and been in trouble for the freakiness for 4 years of it.
Everybody's saying they believe it's Denzel Washington. That's just hard for me to believe. That's
Hmm.
crazy. Thank you. She said he's not going home. Good. Everyone was like, no, Sherelle, calm down. He's not going home. So I'm gonna play my video really quick while I go run and do my hair. Hold on, let me do this. More messages. Let me see what she says. She says Tony Buzbee, the lawyer representing more than 120 alleged victims for Diddy, has been hit with an assault lawsuit. Okay, she's just sent it to me. Let me forward this. Wow. What? Perry, we're gonna look back on this one day and be like, that was the craziest case ever.
Yeah, or you might look back at it and say, "Damn, it's like the gold rush many years ago." You can sit it out and then say, "Damn, we should have filed a suit." You know what I'm saying?
It's not funny. I don't know why I'm laughing. This is crazy. So you guys, I'm trying to
I got to
down.
laugh at some of it though. I got to laugh. I mean, parts of it, like it's real serious things in this Diddy thing, no doubt.
Mhm.
But it's the third party, fourth party, fifth parties involved. That's just, in my opinion, just out there, just looking for
Oh,
attention
this
or.
is Jason Lee.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Well, let me go over there and get it. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, wow. This is unbelievable. Wow.
But really, yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, let me see if I can do it this way. Hold on, you guys. So this is what we call a loose live. That's when Sharrell comes on and she has no makeup on. Okay, see, and that's when we're still trying to get the story together live while we're live. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, so it's just so much Shrell, like really, this Diddy stuff just goes on and on and on. But the crazy part about today, I don't know, 5 hours from now, we'll be like, okay, whew, nothing changed. But the thing is, when given an opportunity,
Mhm.
anything can happen. Matter of
Yeah,
fact, what's today? Today Friday, right?
yeah.
Could you imagine what kind of Diddy party it would be Saturday night if he got released?
Harry, you must be tired. You have got to be
Well, you know,
tired.
Sherelle, I'm trying to wake up.
You are ridiculous.
No, I'm trying to wake up now and not to scare people. Because some people might want to release. Some people might say, "Shit, you know what? I mean, I think he need a fair day in court, but I'm not sure if he gonna be getting released or not."
This is just about as big as I can get it. So let me read this to you guys. Hold on. Oh, it's really small. It says the attorney who represented over 120 individuals. That's only part of the article. I got to go to the site. Hold on one second. Mm-mm-mm. Well, this is weird. It's just
Yeah,
weird
but I
that
see this.
Tony.
Go ahead. I mean,
This
why you
one.
kind of go ahead?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, I thought you was gonna pull up the article. So when you talking about this, because you'll start going at 110 miles per hour. I
Yeah.
just want to tell everybody have a nice weekend and everything.
Perry. Perry, you gonna leave me alone today, okay? So let me see. Not today. Not today. Okay, this says, can you see it? Because I'm on a different screen. It says the attorney who represented over 120 individuals claiming to be victims of Diddy is facing a lawsuit for assault, according to the new TMZ. The new information obtained by TMZ, a woman identified herself as Jane Doe in her lawsuit, alleges she was previously a client of Tony Buzbee and now has initiated legal action. The new outlet reports that the woman is alleging that the attorney assaulted her during the course of representing her in a divorce proceeding. This is wild. The legal documents didn't provide all the detailed information about the alleged assault. However, a source close to the woman informed TMZ that she alleges the incident occurred in a public setting. What? According to her, Busby became angry upon seeing her and reportedly shoved a champagne flute into her face, resulting in a chipped tooth. She claimed to have both medical and dental records to prove her story.
And then what the
Wow.
hell is a champagne flute? Is that the little red straws and stuff or whatever?
I don't, it's a glass,
Oh,
right?
oh,
I don't drink champagne. I think
yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
glass. That's interesting. Why are you talking about this now?
Right. And see, and I
Well,
know.
no, I don't want to say that. I don't want to shame the victim,
Oh, no,
but
no, no.
I'm,
Well, I understand what you're saying. Like, I used to think that way a lot of times, but
mhm.
when it comes to SA, a lot of people don't do it for those reasons. But typically, if somebody just ran into your car, that ain't something you wait 30 years for. Now,
but,
if
but, but, Perry, the story, it's the timing is suspicious, and
oh yeah, no, I agree
it
with you. I'm
just
just saying
doesn't make sense.
it don't make sense to me. That's why I said a lot of people I think just looking for attention. Just my opinion.
Yeah, that's weird. I
Because
guess it's
hell, matter of fact, this didn't even need to be announced. She could have took this shit to small court, small claims court, or something,
uh-huh.
And shit, I probably would have been asking for money back then when I had to pay for the chip too.
So it's definitely on TMZ. Hold on, let
Mhm.
me put this up. Wow, this is strange at best.
But to me, I could be wrong. It's like somebody looking for attention,
Oof,
and
oof.
when you tie big names to something right now,
Uh-huh.
every little thing. Oh, Gardner cuts Busby backyard, right?
Uh-huh.
It's just putting your name with the big thing. So, it's crazy. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I mean, I'm
Let me
just glad
see.
she's fine with the chip too.
They didn't put the paperwork with it. Doesn't mean it's not true. It's just they just didn't pull it. This is weird. This is very weird. Now you've got people trying to expose Tony Buzbee, and
Mhm.
it's really just turned into a circus act. It's turned into a circus act, which is very weird because a lot of times when they say no cameras in the courtroom and a gag order, things usually settle down. This is not settling down. This is not settling down.
Mhm.
See what I can find out about this. Uh, it's not settling down. And I guess I got to prepare myself
For
like hold on. Okay, I'm going to play this video for you guys that we put out yesterday. Hold on. This is wild. So somebody told me this stuff about Denzel Washington. So I did the video anyway, even though I didn't believe it,
mhm.
but I'm starting to believe it.
Well, I mean, these days I don't put nothing pat like back in the day. I'd have been like, man, if you don't get your ass out my face. But now it's a little different. Like I was like, okay, I don't really believe it at first or whatever, but I'm open to hear the facts, or what comes out later.
Somebody said, run, Diddy, run. All right, let me play this really quick and then I'm going to go to what I need to do. Hey, everybody. I wanted to jump in here really quickly and talk about this Denzel Washington story. Now, Denzel Washington has been going around doing a series of interviews for the movie Gladiator 2. Now, in the interview, he opens up and talks about how he used to do a lot of alcohol and drugs in his past. Now, I'm going to read this article verbatim because I don't want to get anything twisted, okay? Because this story takes a real bad turn. Okay, so the article says Denzel Washington is opening up about his sobriety journey and how his past habits impacted his health. He says, I've done a lot of damage to my body, but I've been clean now. Wine is very tricky and very slow. I never got strung out on heroin, never got strung out on coke, never got strung out on hard drugs. I shot dope just like they shot dope, but I never got strung out. I never drank while I was working or preparing. I would clean up, go back to work. I could do both. He says, but that is in his past and he has been clean for 10 years. Now, I read you the article verbatim because I don't want anyone saying, Sharrell, why are you being so mean? Denzel, you're just bringing black men down. So if you say that, I'm going to say, I read the damn article verbatim. And not only did I read it verbatim, none of that shit made any sense. None of it. I shot dope just like everyone else. What? I don't know who this everybody else that you're talking about, but most people that shoot up dope, we call them addicts. And not only have you did so much dope to be called an addict, you said it damaged your body. Now, don't get me wrong, sir, but doesn't that qualify you as an addict? Now, don't get it twisted, people. I love me some Denzel. I love Denzel Washington. Denzel Washington and Samuel L. Jackson are my two favorite actors. That's black actors. You know, my favorite white actor is John Travolta, but we're not talking about him right now. We're talking about Denzel Washington. Now, since I love him so much, I have to say this very respectfully. Denzel, sir, Mr. Washington, that made absolutely no sense. And since it made no sense, I had to dig into this story just a little bit more. And like my mother always told me, she said, Sharrell, don't go snooping because you just might find what you're looking for. Why didn't I listen to my mom? Why not? Guess what I found out, guys? The rumors are, oh boy, is that Denzel Washington is giving us a soft blow. I mean, I don't know what you call it, soft blow, soft rollout to what allegedly is supposed to be coming up. Now, I know you're thinking, well, what's supposed to be coming up, Sharrell? I'm glad you asked. And if you're a Denzel Washington fan, please brace yourself. The rumors are, now yesterday, I think it was yesterday, maybe 2 days ago, I just get it all confused, this Diddy stuff. It was Tony Buzbee. Someone sued Tony Buzbee. It was supposed to be a high profile person because they said this high profile person that Tony Buzbee kind of extorted him for money because he said he had some tapes and some information about this person. And if they didn't want this information out in public, that you could buy it, you could settle out of court now, or this information was going to go to the public. Child, y'all know what's coming out of my mouth next. They're saying that this high profile person is Denzel Washington. They're saying that Denzel Washington was at the freak offs all the time. Not only was he at the freak offs, he was at the freak offs strung out, high out of his mind. They're saying that he was a severe addict for many years and the public just didn't know. But the people behind the scenes, they knew. Now, let me catch my breath, people. Let me catch my breath because this is just too much. How much do you guys think Sharrell can take? This is too much. Denzel Washington at the freak-offs? Denzel Washington strung out? Oh my God, people. I don't know what to do with myself. Now, I've told you guys 1,000 times, stop idolizing celebrities. Stop putting them on a pedestal. They're human, just like everybody else. And they make mistakes just like everybody else. But I meant that for you guys, not myself. I love me some Denzel Washington. And not only that, I broke another rule of mine. I went to social media, AKA X, and they are dragging him, people. They're saying, what's a little bit of strung out? Like, what's a little bit of dope? Shut up, Denzel, tell the truth. And what's really weird is Denzel Washington is 69 years old. I like to round that up to 70. So when all this was going down, when he was damaging his body, he was in his late 50s, early 60s. And a lot of addicts that in their late 50s, early 60s, they're lifetime addicts, okay? You just don't start at the late part of your life of 59 and 60 years old. And oh my God, I don't know what to do. But if it is Denzel Washington, I have to brace myself. Okay. I have to snap out of this and tell myself the same things I tell you guys. But before I can do that, I want to know, do you guys believe this? I mean, why is he talking about this in magazines at damn near 70 years old? It makes no sense. The only thing that makes sense are the rumors, people, which is he's been laying it low and spreading it wide. Isn't that how Mama Evelyn said it? You're dirty down to the bone. You've been laying it low and spreading it wide. So let's talk about it down in the comment section. What I want to know is, do you guys believe? So I got that yesterday. I made that yesterday. And we're going to talk about that. Hold on. Hold on. I got to get that on.
You trying to get an update or something?
Yeah. I guess they just filed some paperwork. So I got to read the paperwork. Hold on.
But when you get a chance, can you plug our new channel?
Yeah. Hold on. I don't know why that kept playing. It won't stop playing. All right, you guys. So that's, hold on. I can't figure out how to stop that. Here it is, right here. Okay. All right. So we got a lot going on. They just submitted some new paperwork to the courts, and I'm going to take it. This is what they're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to read that letter in a minute. Also, what did you want me to plug?
Oh, our new channel.
Oh, yeah, we have a new channel. If you guys are still interested in reality TV called Sharrell's Reality, it's so new that it's not going to pop up in the algorithm. So you have to either go to my community tab, or I'm going to leave it in the description after this. And then Perry has a new channel where he talks politics. Also, someone wanted me to plug. I guess a lot of people are leaving X because of Elon Musk, and everyone is going to an app called Bluesky. And I guess they had a huge 500% increase. Now, I heard about some of these celebrities leaving X. I haven't tried Bluesky yet. I tried to open a thread. I don't use it, but I guess everybody's going to Bluesky. Have you heard about this Bluesky?
Yeah, yeah. I think I just heard of it yesterday or 2 days ago or something.
Yeah, I never heard of it, but I will check it out. I will check it out, and I just plugged it for you. So there we go. All right. Now let's talk about these new hold on, you guys. This is a loose live where I'm all over the place because I just jumped on here and I didn't even prepare. Josh said, yeah, I missed the first live. Won't happen again. Listen, Josh, we're gonna try to hit that up every day because Beverly Hills is great. All right, so I guess these two letters just got submitted to the court. I have not read them, and it's very small. Hold on. Better. Okay, I guess. Let's see who wrote the letter. Okay, I don't know. We're just going to figure it out as we go. It says, Dear Judge Sub-Romanian, the government respectfully submits this letter in advance of the hearing scheduled for November 22nd, 2024, in connection with the defendant's renewal motion for bail and in response to the court's inquiry about the relevance of the bail package ordered with the government's consent as to defendant Michael Jeffries. So Michael Jeffries is I don't know if he's still the CEO. He might be. He's the CEO of Abercrombie Finch, and he was charged with, I believe, some of this, the exact
same thing, pretty much, as Diddy.
X trafficking also, and he was released out on a $10 million bond.
Yep.
And so they're saying their argument's going to be, if you let Michael Jeffries out on 10 million, and these are the same exact charges, oh, this is why they're saying they're going to let him out. Then why aren't you letting Diddy out on a $50 million bond and other things, I think no passport and all that. So they're saying, explain it. Why would you do it in this case and not in that case? And we all know this is called case law. For the reasons stated below, the circumstances in Jeffries are inopposite and provide no support for the defendant's bail application in the instant matter. On October 17th, 2024, a grand jury sitting in the Eastern District of New York returned an indictment charging 3 defendants, including Michael Jeffries, with 1 count of trafficking in violation of and 15 counts of interstate I know I can't say that word.
You can?
Of women of the night, huh?
Yeah, okay.
Now, I don't think I can say that word.
Okay.
As alleged from approximately 2008 to 2015, Jeffries and his co-defendants operated an international trafficking and women of the night business. Jeffrey allegedly paid for dozens of men to travel within the United States and internationally to meet Jeffries and his co-defendant to engage in commercial acts. In addition, Jeffries and his co-defendants relied on a security company to surveil and intimidate witnesses. What? Oh my God, you guys, he might intimidate witnesses to threaten to expose their misconduct following his arrest. The government consents to Jeffrey's release on strict bail conditions, including a secure $10 million bond and home detention with electronic monitoring. Okay, we got to be realists. Now I see why the person called me. They're saying he also
intimidated
witnesses. Oh, you guys. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, he might be released. Wow. Okay, let me keep going. Wow. The defense argues in its renewed bail motion that Combs is similarly situated to Jeffries and should similarly be released. But beyond superficial similarities, the high-profile positions of the defendant and trafficking charges, the cases are materially different as to multiple factors that the court must consider under the Bail Reform Act. Oh, okay. All right. I know why I got that phone call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow. Let me keep reading. Oh, wow. First, the nature and circumstances of the offenses are substantially different. While the Jeffries case alleges the use of force, fraud, and coercion to engagement in non-consensual acts, there are no allegations that Jeffries committed non-trafficking related violent acts or he used firearms during the charged period. The indictment against Combs alleges both. Okay, so this is the prosecution. Okay, this is the prosecution, and they're saying, yeah, while these seem to be exact charges, they're not really exact charges. The difference being that force, fraud, and coercion. I'm gonna keep reading. The indictment against Combs alleges both. With respect to the charged offenses, Jeffrey does not include a racketeering offense. By contrast, Combs is charged with leading a racketeering enterprise that engaged in a persistent pattern of racketeering activities from 2008 through 2024 that included repeated acts of violence by Combs and his co-conspirators. Okay, let me keep going. Including multiple acts involving kidnapping, arson, and forced labor. Further, as detailed in the indictment, Combs protected and promoted his role in the enterprise through violence, using firearms, threats, coercion, and verbal, emotional, physical, and abuse. As recently as March 2024, firearms and ammunition, including 3 AR-15s, can I say that? With
Yeah.
defaced serial numbers were covered from Combs' residence. Second, the defense criminal conduct includes acts of obstruction, has persisted through the present, while Jeffries allegedly also engaged in efforts to conceal criminal activities, including the use of surveillance and threats of litigation to ensure victims' silence. That alleged conduct ended in 2015. That's not really a good argument. Here, however, the conduct charged against Combs extends through 2024. And even since being charged, Combs has continued his obstructive conduct, including by repeatedly flouting the orders this court and the rules and regulations of the BOP. For all the reasons cited in the government's opposition, it strains I don't know if that means credulity, to believe that Combs will stop engaging in criminal conduct and abide by conditions of release. Third, the history and characteristics of the two defendants are significantly different. Jeffrey is 80 years old with no criminal history. Combs is decades younger. Further, he has been arrested and investigated multiple times for crimes of violence and obstruction, and as described above, has repeatedly violated BOP regulations and the very same gag order he demanded this court enter. In sum, Jeffries is materially different from the instant matter. For these reasons above, and in the government's motions, the defendant's renewed motion of bail should be denied. Let's go over this because this is very interesting. They're saying that Jeffries has the same exact charges, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but the difference is, because he even threatened people, he was not physically violent. Okay, that's the difference. Another would be he hasn't been acting the same way. His behavior, he ended his bad behavior back in 2015, and this is 2024. Let me say, someone said, this is not a good argument, but the fact that Jeffries was released really is. I don't. Someone said not true, Sharrell. What part, Michelle? Prosecution's response is damning. Well, we don't know what the judge is going to do. They have an argument. They have an argument. Well, what do you?
The argument would be to me like I would feel like, hey, if me and you both charged with the same thing, for the most part, you get released on 10 million. Why can't I get released on 50? But then when the prosecution come up and bring up the other thing, what can make the cases a little different? But to me, I feel like whether you're 80 or not, and you intimidated witnesses, maybe he shouldn't have got released neither. You see what I'm saying? But on one hand, you can't say, well, this person can get released because he's 80 years old now. But then the prosecution do come back with a good point saying, well, this guy behavior has, like you said, 2000, in years been changed. Now, with Diddy with the weapons, the arson, Kid Cudi car, or I think it was Kid Cudi or whatever.
Yeah, Kid Cudi,
These things being younger, the racketeering thing. See, that racketeering thing, having this enterprise, it almost go back to like that case they was having in Georgia. But I'm just saying that racketeering thing is something else. So I don't know. I'm just as dumbfounded as anybody else. What do you guys think? Do you think it should be a difference based off this the circumstances that the prosecution is laying out there, like the other things? He had a history of violence and stuff like that. Do you think that would sway whether you let somebody out or not?
Ann says, did he even paying people off to lie for him about his crimes? Yeah. Felina lied for money for Diddy. Yeah, I just find it hard to shake off the fact that these are similar crimes. Hopefully saying, but he was violent is enough to keep him in there. I don't know.
Yes, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, here's another letter that was just been submitted. Wow, this is going to be interesting. Very, very interesting. So I'm going to take it. This must be the defense. It says, Dear Judge Romanian, we submit this letter in further support of Mr. Cohn's renewal motion for bond with accompanying exhibit. Oh, they have exhibits. Okay. Which is a letter that the government sent to us at 11:32 p.m. yesterday evening. This letter was sent to us in response to targeted Brady request. I don't know what that is. The proffers cited the governor's letter further support Mr. Combs' position as to the weight of the evidence and the nature of seriousness of the offense. As one example, in attempting to rebuke the defense proffer during the initial bailing hearing, the government argued the following. Yesterday, the defense said they interviewed about half a dozen escorts who would dispute the government's account of what happened during the freak-offs. Our investigation is ongoing, and so I can't say too much about this, but I will note that half a dozen escorts is just the tip of the iceberg of the number of escorts who have participated in the freak-offs. Then it says, as the government's Brady disclosure makes clear, however, and then they redacted it. Are you thinking they're going to have the prostitutes submit some kind of, because they said there's an exhibit, which is the letter. I'm confused. Additionally, this letter provides even more new information that warrants reopening the bail proceedings. Defense counsel will address these points at the bail hearing today. Although we do not believe there is any basis to seal the government's letter, they did, we have not had an opportunity to confer with the government on this issue and are filing it under seal, okay, in the first instance, in an abundance of caution. Okay. Oh. All right, you guys, we can't go into denial. We can't act like the defense doesn't have a case with the Michael Jeffries thing. Let's talk about it in the chat.
Well, yeah. I mean, so basically, to me, that letter saying, look, let's give this thing another look, because even though he may have accusers saying this, that's keeping him locked up, but he got people saying the shit really didn't go down like that, these other escorts. Is that what he's saying?
Yeah.
Damn.
Sugar says BS. I'm going to read this one because it's in capital. Sharrell, these are two different cases with two different men and backgrounds. Right? But, you know, this is the problem I'm having, Jabbar, is that there is a difference. And the Jeffries trial goes back to 2015. But here's the thing. I can't shake the feeling that this could weigh heavily, is that the purpose of case law is like, even though it was a long time ago, this did happen. You did let this guy out. He also was threatening witnesses. He wasn't violent. I don't know.
I mean, basically, like them letting that guy out sort of set a precedence of this is what we normally do in these cases. I guess it's case law, whatever it is. I don't know.
Look at Jabari. He's not playing. The defense is acting like immature thug teenagers. I pointed that out yesterday, and Perry reminded me this is what Perry thinks. That's what they're paid to do. Yeah. What about the GUNs? That should make a difference. And they were, they filed off the serial numbers. That's scary. I don't know.
Yeah, then too, I guess it could come down. Well, you haven't went to court yet. Is it based off evidence that they have? The Jeffries guy. Go ahead.
Somebody's saying free Diddy. Why would you say that? I'm not judging you, but why do you think he should be freed? VA. What about the witnesses? And are you a woman or are you a male? I just want to know.
Yeah. I mean, and everybody gonna see it different, and I think some people gonna see it different based off whether they felt Diddy was guilty or not. Because in America, we have a problem with fairness. You know what I'm saying? So if you let one man out who based off the same thing, and I understand what there's other underlying things that may keep Diddy in, but it's like for the most part, they sort of did the same thing. But one man get out on 10 million, the other man can't get out on 50 million. But it's crazy. Go ahead.
Lynn says the fact that Diddy called one witness 45 times, it was more than that, and tried to outsmart the government by breaking jailhouse phone policies.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it, Lynn. He is not going to be granted bail.
Okay, now that's another thing too that you bring up about the phone calls and stuff, right? Did that get stricken from the bail hearing today?
Right.
Or do the prosecution got a chance to change it? Seems how the notepads didn't have legal written on them until after the attorney, Diddy team sort of written legal on them. I don't know. This is going to be something else. I can see it a couple ways. People could say, well, hey, and if I was in jail, I'm going to say personally, if I was in jail charged with this and can't get out, then I see somebody else charged with the same thing and they get out. I'm saying, hey, why not me? What's the difference? So I guess that's going to be the argument today, right?
Yeah, that's the argument today. Let's see what V says. She said, why would you want to free Diddy, or just looking for attention? Oh, that person was a troll. So I just timed them out. And if they do it again, then they got to go. I don't think anybody wants Diddy free. I mean, no, let me take that back. There are some Diddy supporters. I don't understand you guys' argument. I mean, and I feel that I'm thinking definitely women don't want him out.
Wow.
Once the names start flowing off those tapes, people are going to line up for deals. Well, I feel like it's extortion. When you say, I have these tapes on you, you could settle out of court, which i.e. means pay me. I don't know. Let's keep reading. Once the names start, I already read that. I really don't think he did all the stuff they say he did do. I think he's innocent. But no, I'm sorry. Innocent, no, but 80% of it is BS. I mean,
that's possible too.
You can't, yeah. Well, Adria English just doesn't seem credible to me. These are all coming so rapidly.
Right.
No, why? Well, I hate to say that. I don't think you're going to have some people, clout chasers, looking for money and fame. Because I believe some of the attorneys are clout chasers, especially Ariel Mitchell Kidd. She might not be. That's just a feeling that I get. But there are so many real victims that he doesn't. If you ask me, go ahead, Perry. Do you think?
Oh yeah, no. I was going to just say for all of it. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, The percentage, I don't know, but I think that Diddy, this thing was never have legs if some of these things didn't happen. But I also know people like to just jump on the bandwagon too, either for attention, it could be for money. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people right now can come out here and say, this happened to me with no facts, just a story made up in their head and hit 5 or 6 blogs, maybe 10, and make money off of a make-believe story. So people are going to come out here and jump on the bandwagon, but I think certain things you can't hide. The tapes, the video evidence that they might have. I don't know what all they got. That kind of stuff, the weapons, file down, the conspiracy charges with the enterprise. You know what I'm trying to say, Sharrell? There's a lot of things that I feel like he did, but I think it was like Bill Cosby. I think he did them things that was alleged, but I think a lot of people joined on too. It's just like anything else. If anybody see a free stimulus check, they more liable to just go and try to jump on that. I'm just saying.
She just sent me the link. Hold on. And it's, somebody said he's going to make bail people. It's coming from everywhere. So people are starting to say it now that he's going to make bail. That's
And
just.
I think a lot of people keep saying that. Go ahead.
That would be so upsetting. That would be so upsetting.
I think a lot of people keep saying that, Sharrell, because like, if you ain't gonna give a man bail, why are you giving him so many opportunities for bail? Does that make sense? It's like you giving him too many opportunities to sneak one through or whatnot.
It says, I'm of the opinion that if legal representation approach celebrities and say pay up or will tell this is extortion. That's what I thought, Sussex. I really did. Lawful methods would be a civil litigation through the court system. My opinion, though.
Yeah.
But this is just the public's opinion right now. We don't know where the judge's head is at. And I will say, that Jeffrey's thing, I think the judge would at least have to, consider it. Oh my God. Okay, They just turned the cameras on. Hold on. I'm getting ready to. I need to, I don't know. This is just a lot. This is just a lot, people. A lot. Oh, they turn the cameras on, so I'm leaving the screen, Perry, and I'm going to try to set it up. Damn.
You remember Michaela
Michaela?
Yeah, Michaela in Utah. She had sent me a thing, said she had put something in the chat, a comment just to tell you to say hi or something.
Hi, Michaela. Should we drop the link or just wait? Let's just wait.
Oh yeah, no, right now.
I'm hopeful. I'm not I have to leave room for if it
but this the
happens.
Thing. And now, as much as we can feel like Diddy guilty, but I think every man is due to his fair day in court. And
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying about the United States. I feel like he need to be in there. That's just my personal opinion. But you can't just apply the rules and stick to the rules when it comes to one race and not the other.
Look at this. Just Perry, be safe. Sharrell might start throwing stuff. No, I mean, when we got the call this morning, I thought that's just, who is this? No, that's just people. Okay. I just thought there's no way in hell, but after reading the letters submitted, it's a possibility.
That look wet and cold out there.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
my
I don't know.
God.
Sharrell. Like, I mean, I guess they got the battle it out, and I think it's only fair if they keep him
Yeah.
in. The prosecution got to come with good reasons why he shouldn't be released. If they let him out,
Mhm.
the defense need to come with a good reason.
Mhm.
But I wonder how they're going to handle that legal bonder stuff today. That was weird to me. I could see why they could have
I
did it.
need to calm down because I feel like if they let him out, I feel like I'm going to lose it. And I need to get my thoughts in order and realize that, things are out of our control. And so,
Yeah. Let me see if this is a good thing to say. I guess it's a part of perception and how you look at things. Like I said, I don't told you my opinion. I feel like there's been enough stuff out there that I believe, because haven't nothing been proven in court yet, that I believe that he needs to be in there. But you
Melissa,
would look at it, you would look at it different if that was your son in there and you seeing him being stuck and they releasing everybody else. You would feel better as a group if everybody under that charge was still sitting there.
so Melissa says they wrote a letter on why he shouldn't be released already. We read the letter, and that's why, Melissa, my mood has changed because, it's a possibility. But at first I was a little cocky saying there's no way in hell they're going to let Diddy out. And I had to drop that, Melissa, and say, oh my gosh.
And say, I would never say no way in hell they're gonna let him out, because if they weren't gonna if it wasn't a possibility, they wouldn't give him that many bail attempts to get out. Because anytime you go there, it could be a yay or a nay. So, but with giving all those opportunities, it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't believe it. So I had somebody that is following the case, called early this morning, woke me up. That's why I'm on Avatar. Told me, Sharrell, there's a possibility. She said, expect the unexpected. There's a possibility that they're going to release Diddy today. Go live now. So I went live and I was like, that's not going to happen. She wasted my time, even though I love her to death and I appreciate very, very much the information she gave me. But I just thought there was no way in hell. Then when we read the letters, I said, wait a minute. Well, there's a big difference, though. Diddy's violence, and Diddy is a GUN owner with scratched off cereal. Cereal. I need to go brush my hair. Perry, let's leave it something that, let me see if this has volume. Hold on, let me see. I'm tired of being on Avatar. Perry, can you look how cold it is and windy. My goodness.
It look cold as hell.
Yeah. Ooh, child. That's why I'm thankful for everybody helping me. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can you control the comments so you can read them? No?
I can't.
Can you come sit in my chair real quick?
Yeah.
Because I need to do this here. I can't.
Okay.
I can't stand Avatar.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my God, you guys. We can't lie. We just read the letter. They have a chance. Diddy has a chance. And so someone said it's 39 degrees. Where are you at? Well, well, it's 49 here, right? No, 59. I think everyone is allowed 3 bail hearings. They're allowed them, but it usually doesn't happen. I hope you're right, Josie. I hope you're right. Okay, we're getting ready to rotate. I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Be back in 10 minutes.
And then this call B and sushi. Okay.
You got layers on, or you got like a t-shirt?
Very bitter, very windy. I mean,
Yeah, I say I got layers on too. I don't know how he's from New York.
am I?
From New York.
Oh no! What was it?
Really? Yeah. Part of Florida.
Possible.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen there. Is that like near Miami?
It's right near the mall.
Okay, maybe I had it.
There's one to go.
I've been to Fort Myers.
Fort Myers?
And then I've also been to.
What are you doing Fort Myers?
Otherwise, you can't.
I had
get
a
anywhere.
shoot.
I was going to say
It's just basketball. It was one of the
okay.
Geico Nationals for high school.
Oh,
They had that.
and you were shooting for that?
Yeah, team within it. Yeah.
So you was now?
Huh?
So you was now?
The Raiders.
You think you like it?
You don't like those things.
It's not bad. It's like I like it when I'm learning.
Uh huh.
I like I can shoot every day.
A mod in the chat that we don't know. So announce it. We have a mod in the chat that we don't know. It's an unreached everybody except for Josh, Lisa, and V. And I'll deal with it later. And then go over it.
Okay. Hey, I'm getting a report that we have a mod that we don't recognize in the chat, so we're gonna wrench everybody but Josh,
You know what I'm saying? I don't
What's the value?
Lisa, and V.
not taking good pictures. Not taking pictures of people.
We'll have to do it.
Okay.
Something to do.
Can you even zoom out and try to think about it?
Guys, what did they do, Brian?
Right?
Oh, wow.
Oh no, I know. I think you'll see.
Oh, wow. Okay. So let me unwrench everybody. Hold on. Okay.
I'm not doing it.
I'm not doing
Okay. Okay.
that. I'm not doing that.
That's going to cost you
Your spot.
It's going to. Well, it's not the spot. It's just you're hoping that you're going to be able to get everything, and you're going to end up getting half of one cookie.
Exactly.
And listen, if
that's a good way to put
Curtis
that.
isn't running, then I'm not running. Hold on, it might be coming around. Curtis is paying attention. All right, everybody up. Don't lean. Yep, they're coming. Is it lighter? So what? Boy. You didn't lose. You said flying.
I am in the shoulders.
Yeah, that's drum. I haven't seen it.
Hold on. Let me.
No. Yeah.
Is my email up? You checking the phone?
Oh, it's not.
See that? See this happen? You feel me? Walk out.
Yeah. All right, V. I just unwrenched everybody but Josh and Lisa and you. and then I put it on subscriber mode. But I only put it on 5-minute subscriber mode. But if you need me to go, 6 days subscriber mode, I will do that. But hopefully, thank you for letting me know early. I don't know who that person was. All right, now I mean it this time. Now I'm gonna go brush my hair. I'll be back. Harry.
I can't remember, but I remember it was his last assignment. We were in Midtown, and I heard the 16th Park Avenue or something. So I think we were making.
Well, I'm back.
And,
Let me see.
I remember he was into he had an arm that showed me shots of it. So like I had just decided it wasn't for him anymore. He had a family, he had a wife, he had money, he had land. And you know what? I'm sure his kids are better off. Yeah.
Looked like it froze for a second.
Just flip up that menu and show everything. You should be able to see the image. You see it? Yeah, I think about that guy from time to time because when I saw his talent, I was like, ooh, he makes images I like to look at.
I mean, basically what I think of all of it is we don't know where it's going to take us today during this hearing. Like, they could let him go, or they can choose to hold him. It all, who has the better argument? Because, like I said, the prosecution has to have a good argument on why he need to be held. And I think they've proven that twice before in the other bail hearings. The defense need to come with something new, something different to overthrow what's been already deemed for him to stay in there. So we're gonna find out today whether he be released or not. And it's gonna be a lot of feelings both ways, but I think everybody that sort of got used to him getting denied bail, but if he get it, it's gonna be a social media frenzy this weekend.
It's people are doing it all the time. People on my block who had young children sign up. If the press board is what you really care about, there's a lot of options. It is. What are you going to do, Mr. You're a veteran's veteran. More to see. Yeah, there's always more to see.
Yep, he'll have baby R all over the ankle bracelet. He'll be getting his freak on if they release him. And he'll be out there trying to pay off everybody he can and send out the enterprise to make sure everybody stay quiet. But I don't know. It's really going to be a trip, and we're going to find out what's going to happen today.
Okay. Everybody,
Heads up.
If you're leaving, you don't have to announce it. Matter of fact, how do I block?
yes.
I don't know, people. It's early in the morning, and that it's a certain feeling. I don't know. Something might happen. Okay, look, I got to bounce. My wife told me to get the hell out of here.
The door has a sleep.
You get a bad feeling?
No, I don't know. I mean, how it's gonna go?
Jeez, you're tall. This is crazy. Oops. Let's see here. How do I do this? All right, guys, I'm back. Let me put my green screen on. How do I do that again? This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, you guys, I guess now, did he know he got them all for the takedown? Is he, wait, is he in the van already? We'll see, we'll see. Who's in the van? I think I'm going to change channels. They have a better view. Hold on.
I can't wait. Just like it.
I sure could go for some Starbucks.
No. Sorry, buddy. Sorry, buddy. I'm gonna switch cameras really quick.
Okay, it'd be so nice if you had that wife
Channel,
to
I
say,
mean.
Don't worry, I go and pick some up for you."
Do you believe the Allie Carter interview? I believe a big portion of it. I just believe her. Hold on, let me change this really quick. Let me turn this down. I just turned the sound down. Hold on 1 second. There, see that? They got a good shot of the door. We want to see who's getting out of that damn van. Yeah, I really think that Allie was scarred. I think it really happened. Some of the things, her memory might be a little foggy, and also too, when you suffer from PTSD, you have a tendency to block it out. So it might not have happened specifically that way, but I believe her. Okay, who's getting out? Let's see. It looks like he's getting ready to open the door.
Hey, Sharrell, you
Okay.
remember I was telling you when Michaela had sent a comment? I guess we overlooked it, right? But basically what she had said was this: as far as the bail hearing today, she said that, and talking about the Jeffries guy and Diddy, she said the difference is a legal argument for releasing someone on bail for a similar charge could be that the defendant has a strong history of appearing in court for previous offenses,
Yeah,
demonstrating
and
a
he
low
does.
risk, demonstrating a low risk and reliability under future hearings, even if the current charges are similar to the past ones. Therefore, that could be the reason why one was granted bond and the other ones
And the
was.
other one is.
Yeah, I guess that can make
I
sense
hope
too.
so. I still don't want to get like too. Is that Quincy?
Where at? Oh, I see in the van. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, he already walked. Oh, Quincy's right there with the blonde hair. That's
Yeah.
Quincy. That's Chance. No, that's not Chance. I don't know who that is. There's the twins in the white hat, Delilah and Jesse. The kids are even coming to the bail hearing again. Sad.
I ain't trying to upset you, but they might be going home with their daddy.
Perry, don't, Perry.
Okay.
The twins are beautiful and they look like their mom.
Are you feeling confident going into today's hearing?
There's cute Quincy. He's so cute. Perry said I'm color struck. I said, where are the boys? Where's Justin? Where is Justin and oh, there's King holding the girl for his head. Oh, there's Justin. There's Justin. Those poor kids. I know they're adults, but I feel sorry for them. Even the twins. The twins the most. Aw. Look at this.
What you laughing at?
Perry, cut it. Huh? He said, Perry, cut it out. I know, because I really don't want him to get out. And so, I think I'm calm now and I'm ready for the verdict.
And I just want to say this, I can't stop watching it, right? The whole thing is this. I do my wife this way because I know she gonna lose it if they release him. So I got to ease her in to that mindset that it's a possibility that they let him go.
No, he's playing with me. Don't believe a word Perry says. He loves seeing me paranoid. I am paranoid. Let's see. Hi, Barbara. Haven't seen you in a while. Diddy's gonna have his kids show up. Yeah, that's sad. I know everybody says to me, Sharrell, those are grown men. Everybody, but maybe the girls. But I just feel bad for all of them. No matter what, there are strict orders by Diddy. I don't feel sorry for the boys. You don't? They took in a lot of of this freak off crap. How could you feel sorry? Because I know Kim Porter loved her kids and she wouldn't want this for them. And I'm just always look at the kids through the eyes of a mother, and she would be devastated. She would be devastated. And I just hope.
And maybe you can feel sorry for some of the kids, but some of them is good kids and it's bad kids too, Sharrell.
Just Perry, stop, because I really want justice for Kim. If that happened to me and somebody took my life and I was no longer here, I would just want people to look out for my kids. Sharon says Trump doesn't have the presidential pardon ability until he has been sworn in. That's true, Sharon. Also, the rumors, and I don't know if it's true or not, was that he was calling in favors to get Diddy out on bail. Now, I listen to Gene Dill a lot, and he said he doesn't see that happening. He said that Trump and Diddy had fell out, and they had been estranged for a couple years. So at least so they fell out when Obama was president. That's been a long time. That's been a long time ago. So he would have to get convicted also to get a pardon. So what's it say? What if Diddy unalived her? He did. Well, allegedly, people are saying he unalived her, but I feel in my heart he unalived her because Al B. Shore said it the day that it happened. Hold on a second. He never changed. Not only did he say that he tried to unalive Kim, thank you. He also said that he tried to unalive him. And you know, if somebody's trying to unalive you. So Perry, oh, you're on the phone too. So I don't know.
You need something?
Do you feel that Diddy do you feel that Diddy unalived Kim?
I mean, I have no facts, nothing like that to go off of, but there's a lot of mysterious things that happen around there. Allegedly that, that has been said with the coroner and all. It's a lot of stuff. And then a lot of people have faded away around this whole essay things and like people close to Diddy with this pneumonia shit.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. The corner. And then the corner.
Right.
Is another reason, I think. Yeah.
A lot of people can die for a whole lot of different reasons. But why would a certain group of people around Diddy have the same symptoms? Pass away from the same.
And also, too, after listening to Shine, and he let that man go to jail for a decade. Now, that was the sentence. I believe he only went 9 or 8 years he spent. But anyway, he had a sentence of a decade, and Diddy did nothing about it. And he brought in defendants to lie on Shine. And so Diddy will do anything. I would feel horrible if I sent somebody to prison for 10 years and I know they're innocent. I mean, he cannot be released because I believe he's just like daddy, like father, like son. His father was a trigger man. Diddy's a trigger man. And I got my eye on that damn Justin. Okay. Eye out on Justin.
Don't overlook the quiet one. See, look, this is the whole thing. I mean,
Perry wants me to hate Quincy.
No. I mean, I want you to look at him with open eyes, not this sympathy of what could have happened. A lot of shit could have happened to Justin and them as they grew up too. But when you out there doing foul shit, how you expect somebody to look at you? And if he was such this saint, how is he around all this? Go ahead.
Lisa, I had to unwrench you just for this because let me see if I can do it again. No, then you have to I had to unwrench you because we had some mods that we didn't even know who they were. So I unwrenched you, but I'll fix it after this. So thanks for coming. I love the channel. You guys are a power team. Well, Sharrell, calm down. What's going to happen will happen. That's true. So I'll re-wrench you, Lisa, right after. No, she said, do I have two Lisas? I have two Lisas.
Okay, so when you was fixing your hair, I think Lisa had two accounts that popped up. Maybe. I'm not exactly sure. You had to talk to V.
Yeah, we got to talk to V. V took a break. She'll be back when they start talking. Yeah, so that's what happened. Someone was in here trying to really disrupt the chat. Well, no one has time for that today. We are, I'm nervous. I'm not going to lie.
Well, a lot
Listen to this one. People are saying Diddy's mom is really his aunt. Child, that is a weird family, isn't it? That is a weird family. I don't care who she is, mom, aunt. Like, she was at the freak-offs. That's just weird to me. They're weird. Diddy purchased the golden casket weeks before Kim became ill. I just think he did it. I don't know. I hope he didn't. I think he unalived Kim, and I think he unalived Tupac. Because, and I believe Keefe D, who is sitting in prison right now because he went on Vlad TV. Hi, Sharon. She says Donald J. Trump is a criminal and seems to have gotten away with his crimes. It's like, what does he have over the government? He is dangerous to America. I mean, let me say this because it's true, and this is what Lisa was trying to tell me. Guilty people get away with their crimes all the time. When that happens, that's how it's supposed to be. You have to turn it over. I'm not trying to get real religious on y'all, but sometimes people suffer and you don't see them suffering, but they're paying the cost. We don't know what goes on in these people's personal life. You know, they could be like, I think Ray J also think Ray J was around when Whitney Houston, you know, I think he gave her he didn't intentionally do it, but I think the way that Ray J's acting out right now feels like his conscience is bothering him. Mm-hmm. So, and that's the worst torture is when your conscience just, you can't get right. You're tortured, tortured soul. So, you know, that's why I try not to get too down when things don't go my way. It's his biologically body double for me. Don't put nothing past it. Well, I don't know. Oh, you're saying Trump has a double? Well, after the Jamie Foxx thing, I don't know. Hollywood is weird. These people are weird. I think Diddy is a monster. He's horrible. He's horrible. A majority of his artists mysteriously pass away after speaking out against him. That's not normal.
Right.
And listen, we've been hearing Mace complain about Diddy for years. Who else? I think that's all the artists about getting paid. You know, I believe what's her name? Aubrey O'Day. She's been saying this stuff for years. I don't know, y'all. There's just, you know, he is a monster, and hopefully, karma. Hopefully anybody who does something and gets away with it, you know, that's when we got to turn it over to the man up above and believe heavily in karma. They say Diddy's body double is in there instead of Diddy. That's what they're saying? Oh, there's facial comparison videos going around YouTube and TikTok. I wouldn't put past any, y'all laughing. I believe it. I wouldn't put anything past any of these people. They are just, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
I think that's Diddy.
As we can see, Diddy wanted, well, you know, they're saying that Diddy's running the prison, that he's getting treated like a celebrity in there, and people are doing stuff for him. And I believe they said he paid someone to cook him some, I can't remember how it went down, but you know, he's still not getting the punishment he deserves. You know, he's in there living it up. He's probably having the freak offs in the prisons. Just, you know, he goes both ways. He don't care. He in there still freaking it up. As we can see, Diddy wanted Al dead, unalive too. Maybe Quincy sold out to save his dad. Okay. I can't answer on Quincy because Perry said I always, he said I'm color struck, and I always am really soft on Quincy. But Perry, admit this part. Quincy is in a predicament that not a lot of people are in. My bio dad is telling me that the man I call my dad unalive my mother. That's a hell of a position to be in. Come on, Perry. Can I get that?
No, I get that, but he's in a totally different situation than any other step kid, right? Because he's with.
I'm gonna put my camera on. I'm gonna grab some water. Keep going. I can hear you.
he's not with his. Okay, I heard your example, but he also, just like any other step kid or whatever, he's with a rich mogul, Diddy. And maybe I think the money and that lifestyle is what making him stay over there. That's what I'm thinking.
That's just awful. That's an awful thing to say. What is wrong with you?
Listen.
Harry.
Sharrell, okay, I'm trying to say this. It could be that the man raised him. That's the guy he grew up to know as father, right? Because a father, being a biological father, is not being a father that raised you, right? So maybe it could be he don't have that attachment to his biological father. Just Diddy. And Diddy could have been the only person he knew as dad. You know what I'm saying? So it could be that, it could be that too. Is what I'm thinking.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know neither. But
you're a little bit sometimes over the top. Just a little bit. Okay, so everybody that's coming in, we've already read the letter. What time is it? Oh no, we can't reread it. It's almost showtime.
Well,
we got 2 minutes.
Showtime gonna be a minute. They're gonna be in there fussing and fighting for a minute.
Should I read the letter again?
Yeah, you can to catch people
my
up.
Heart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's read the letter again. Ugh. Before this letter, I was for sure. So I get a phone call this morning. Sharrell, you should go live now because we're thinking that Diddy's going to be released, right? And I came on here and spazzed out. Then I got upset and I thought, you woke me. And then I said, there's no way he's going to get out. And you woke me up. I appreciate you giving me information. I had a little bit of a toot. And then I read this letter and my attitude changed. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
So if I remove this, I can't see the cameras. Let me see because it's almost showtime. Let me see if it goes below and I can see. I don't know. If I put up, are you making fun of me, Perry?
No, I was just.
It feels that way.
No, I was just thinking about that so-called apology. I was just thinking about the so-called apology you just put out there.
So what I'm going to do is leave the cameras up and I'm going to read the letter anyway. Okay. So, because we can't miss a moment, people. We cannot miss a moment. And so cameras aren't allowed in the courtroom. So we're going to listen to the updates from Law and Crime. Okay, this is what the letter says. It says, Dear Judge, the government respectfully submits this letter in advance of the hearing scheduled for November 22nd, 2024, in connection with the defendant's renewed motion for bail and in response to the court's inquiry about the relevance of the bail package order with the government's consent to defend Michael Jeffries. So they say they're going to argue when they go in the courtroom, case law. Again, this is repeat. Michael Jeffries is the CEO of Karambi and Finch, and he has been charged with the same exact charges as Diddy. The letter goes on to say, for the reasons stated below, the circumstances in Jeffries are inopposite and provide no support for the defendant's bail application for the instant matter. Hold on. On October 17th, 2024, a grand jury sitting in the Eastern District of New York returned an indictment charge 3 defendants, including Michael Jeffries, with 1 count of trafficking, as alleged approximately between 2008 and 2015. Jeffries allegedly co-defendants operated an international trafficking ring and women of the night. They didn't use that word, but I put that in there. Jeffrey allegedly paid for dozens of men to travel within the United States and internationally to meet Jeffries and his co-defendants to engage in commercial acts. In addition, Jeffries and his co-defendants relied on a security company to surveil and intimidate witnesses who threatened to expose their misconduct. Following his arrest, the government consented to Jeffries' release on strict bail conditions, including a secured $10 million bond and home detention with electronic monitoring. So they're saying Jeffries was accused of the same exact charge. His charges, though, were back between 2008 and 2015, where Diddy's is all the way up to current date. And they let him go home, on the same charges. The letter continues. It says, the defense argues in its renewed bail motion that Combs is similarly situated to Jeffries and should similarly be released. But beyond superficial similarities, the high-profile position, okay, we will read this letter at the end. Let's go. It's showtime, people.
Hey everybody, I'm Jesse Weber, and welcome to our special coverage of the Sean Diddy Combs case. The man facing federal racketeering, sex trafficking, prostitution charges. He's going to be back in court today because he and his defense counsel will be arguing for bail once again. Now, to be clear, this was already denied multiple times by other judges, okay? But this is the first time the current judge overseeing this case, Judge Arun Subramanian, will be hearing this issue, deciding this issue. And we're going to be hearing competing testimonies, competing narratives, I should say, about whether or not Sean Combs should be released before trial. So Combs, one argument will be allegedly reaching out to witnesses and victims, including behind bars, that he put forward an attractive, expansive bail package, $50 million, home confinement, 24/7 monitoring by private security. Prosecutors will say that doesn't really alleviate the dangers. Speaking of which, you'll probably hear prosecutors say that he is a danger because of past episodes of alleged violent activity. And they're going to be highlighting the 2016 video of him purportedly beating his ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, at a hotel hallway. That will most likely come up. I will say one particular area that will definitely come up is how this case is distinguished from the Mike Jeffries case. This is the former Abercrombie & Fitch CEO who was recently arrested and charged with sex trafficking in New York, but he was released on a $10 million bond. Judge Subramanian said to the prosecutors earlier this week, be prepared to explain the differences between that case and Combs' case. So what we're going to be doing, and you see this live shot of the courthouse right now. Of course, there are no cameras in that courtroom, unfortunately, but we are going to be providing you live updates about what is happening in that courtroom. Long Crimes' Elizabeth Milner is in that courtroom. She's going to be coming out later to do a live shot for us as well about what she saw and what she heard. And we are also going to be taking your questions about the case, about the hearing. So make sure to submit them up on YouTube. Now, before I get into this, before I bring on my guests, I do want a little announcement for you. Little thing, some would say self-promotion. It's fine. I feel fine about it. I have a very special announcement. So if you're interested in a deep dive in the Diddy case, you have to subscribe to Wondery Plus, because why? Law and Crime will be launching a brand new podcast series. It is called The Rise and Fall of Diddy. It is launching on December 4th. And you know who it's hosted by? It's hosted by me. So yes, it's a little self-promotion. But again, if you want a full, in-depth, 360 understanding of the story, make sure to check it out. All right, I want to talk about this. A lot of different moving parts to what we can expect today. So I am joined right now by Law and Crime's attorney, their general counsel, Elizabeth Vulai. Not here to make sure that we're not in trouble. We never get in trouble, right? No, but she's been following the case. We love having her on. And we are also joined by criminal defense attorney Nima Rahmani. Thank you so much. She's a former federal prosecutor as well. So happy to have you both here. Nima, I will start with you. The big issue, I think it's going to come up, is prosecutors. Why shouldn't Combs be released if Mike Jeffries is released? And they responded in a filing. We'll get to it, but what do you think?
Well, two very different cases, Jesse. And obviously, when we're talking about sex trafficking, you're talking about force, fraud, or coercion. And in Combs's case, we're talking about a lot of force. Now, Jeffries, there was an alleged fraud. The victims were told one thing, they'd be models, and next thing you know, they're participating in these sex acts. There was some allegations of force. Maybe some security didn't let them leave, but there's no video of Jeffries beating anyone. And the sheer number of victims that we have, I know obviously there's only one in this indictment so far, but many have filed civil lawsuits. So in my opinion, two very different cases. And you know what? People lie, defense attorneys lie, defendants lie all the time, but video doesn't lie. And I think if Onion looks at that video that CNN got in May from that 2016 beating, less than a mile from where I'm sitting right now, that is not someone that is going to be safe if released. He's a danger to the future.
Defense would say that's 8.5 years ago. Should that be definitive proof that he's a danger to others on the outside? I want to give everybody an update, and then Elizabeth, I'm going to go to you. As I said, we'll provide you updates from court. Sean Combs' attorney, Tony Rico, has come back into the gallery to speak with Sean Diddy Combs supporters. So apparently there might be supporters in that courtroom. We'll get a better understanding when Elizabeth Milner comes out to us later. And Alexandra Shapiro, who is another one of Combs' defense attorneys, is sitting reading from a binder in that courtroom. 4 prosecutors are in the front row. Sean Combs has been brought in. He is wearing the MDC jail tan uniform that we've described before. You probably see it in kind of these courtroom sketches, and he has hugged his lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, and then sits chatting with his other attorney, Mr. Rico. Okay, so Elizabeth, let me go to you about this. The government has said with Mike Jeffries, he wasn't charged with racketeering. He's 80 years old. Sean Combs is 55 years old. There are efforts by Sean Combs to try to obstruct this investigation, reaching out to witnesses and victims, including behind bars. And there's not, but again, on the other hand, Mike Jeffries is charged with sex trafficking, using force, fraud, or coercion, very similar to Sean Combs, but they say that this is superficial similarities and it's 2 completely different cases. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so as well. Obviously, there's a little bit of overlap there. They've both been indicted for sex trafficking charges in federal court in New York. They're both high public profile figures. So there's some overlap, but I think also one of the biggest key differences is that so far with the Jeffries case, we haven't seen any allegations of possible witness tampering, any obstruction of justice. I think that's going to be a big part of what the prosecution is going to try to argue. And it was also layered into the hearing that happened earlier this week with all the notes that were seized as well.
Nima, we're getting some questions from our viewers, so I want to read them. Again, submit them on YouTube. The question that we first have is from Sandy Rivera, who, by the way, Sandy, thank you so much. I know that you always comment on YouTube. We really appreciate it. The question for Nima is, why did he request no restraints at this hearing? Just to put a little clarification on that, he had actually petitioned to not be in restraints, not only for this hearing, but the last hearing, and presumably for the hearings moving forward. It's interesting considering there's no jury yet, so why request no restraints?
Well, it's a typical request that defense attorneys raise, and certainly you don't want him to be restrained if you're his lawyers before the jury. That can be prejudicial. But right now, to the extent that he has been nonviolent in prison, nonviolent in court, that's something that the U.S. Marshals can certainly handle Sean Diddy Combs without restraints.
Question for you, Elizabeth. This is from Fishlock47 on YouTube. Are any celebrities expected to testify? Well, I don't think today. The question becomes, will they be testify at an upcoming trial, which is currently scheduled for May of 2025?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see any celebrities today. I think today is going to be strictly about, his bail hearing. What are the reasons to advocate that he be kept in prison until the trial, whatnot. But I would be shocked if there's no celebrities coming forward ultimately at his trial. Again, we've talked about this is someone who's had relationships with celebrities, friendships, business relationships for decades. He's been in the business forever. There's going to be people who have relevant information here.
Nima, question for you. This is my question. So in anticipation of this hearing, Sean Combs, I'm going to turn it this way. Sean Combs' defense counsel filed something very interesting with the court. They filed this is what they write the court. They write Judge Subramanian. In support of Mr. Combs' renewed bail application, we have submitted to the court and the government a 20-minute video under seal. And we don't know what that video is, but they said the video was prepared by Connor McCourt, who was previously a foot patrol officer with the New York City Police Department. He was promoted to sergeant. He was assigned to the Technical Assistant Response Unit. Why do I feel this has to be about Cassandra Ventura? I say that because it seems that a big factor, a big point of discussion in this bail analysis, and there's been briefs back and forth, has been whether or not she is credible, whether or not her description of this relationship was, for example, the 2016 video of her trying to escape a freak-off wasn't an example of sex trafficking, or as the defense would say, we'll show you text messages, we'll show you other evidence that this is just a really toxic relationship. It's not evidence of sex trafficking or racketeering. It can't be used to justify detention. Would I be so far off to say that this 20-minute video under seal might have to do with her?
I think that's a good guess, Jesse, and we can guess that because the defense has said that this video is edited. It doesn't show the full story. It's a snapshot in time. I don't know what more we need to see, even if the relationship was toxic, tumultuous. Let's not forget, it was Cassie Ventura's bombshell lawsuit in November that really started all this. And the other victims who have come forward have told very similar stories of physical and sexual violence. So even if Cassie, Diddy's longtime girlfriend of more than a decade, is lying, even if you don't believe her, I mean, there are dozens of other victims who are telling the same story. It's going to be hard to disbelieve everyone.
Want to give everybody an update in court. Sean Combs and his lawyers, they're sitting at the middle of three tables. There are two U.S. Marshals who are there as well, and they're, rather than directly behind him, as is usually the case, they are on his sides. Nima, I'll just go back to you. Is there some sort of security risk that we should be thinking about here?
I don't think so. I mean, Diddy could have taken off, and we're talking about bail. You're really looking at two issues: risk of flight and danger to the community. I don't think he's going to try anything because that's a surefire way to be shackled the rest of the trial, and he's not that stupid.
Okay, well, in all fairness, let me just say he's also accused of reaching out to witnesses and victims through his family, when that became a central issue of why he's been denied bail. If that's true, if the prosecutors can prove that to the court, that's not great. That would not be the most reasonable thing. We'll get to that in a second. We have a question from YouTube here. I actually think he probably has the better shot making bail in front of this judge right now, because the judge seems at least open to some of the arguments put forward by the defense. We'll see if it works. Which brings me to this question that we have from YouTube. This is from Dr. Firewater on YouTube. Seems like a contradiction, Firewater, but anyway.
Interesting name.
Will Diddy's life be put in jeopardy if he's released on bail? Public outrage or celebrity hit job? Is it safer to keep him incarcerated until cleared?
I think that's highly doubtful. I mean, in the case of Mike Jeffries, he was able to be released on bail. He's under home confinement. He's being monitored. You know, someone like Diddy, who has not just homes, but really estates with security. If he's confined to his home, I would imagine that's probably safer than most prisons within New York.
More people are talking about Diddy than they are Mike Jeffries. And more people, the argument would be, are concerned about being wrapped up in Sean Diddy Combs' allegations or anything like that.
It is true. It is true. I think with high-profile defendants in prison, though, there's always a risk that they could be possibly more targeted, or sort of more attention, negative or positive, is paid on them while they're in jail. Versus, you know, if he's sentenced to home confinement, he has a lot of resources and a lot of wealth still at his readily available hands.
Yep. All right. We had a question from Sean D. Cole on YouTube. Nemo, I'll throw this to you. What would be your best possible defense strategy?
Thank God I'm not doing defense work anymore, but I think the best defense strategy would be to argue that the sexual activity happened, but it was consensual. That gets rid of the force, fraud, or coercion. The challenge is if they do supersede and they add sex trafficking of minors, that argument goes out the window because minors can't consent. Now, Diddy is allegedly contacting witnesses, and there's probably a few ways that he can persuade them to either do a 180 or not show up at trial and testify. He can outright bribe them, pay them off through civil settlements and judgments. He can blackmail them. He can try to threaten them. But, I mean, his best defense is for these witnesses to go sideways. That's really the only defense in this case.
All right. We have an update from court. Sean Combs' lawyer, Mr. Rico, says the family of Mr. Sean Love Combs are here. They traveled a long way. Judge Subramanian says, thank you for being here. Mr. Agnifilo, tell me about the legal pads. And Mark Agnifilo responds, the first time I saw them was Tuesday. Elizabeth, this feels like in response to the issue that happened earlier this week about whether the government improperly photographed potentially privileged materials of Sean Combs. I didn't think that issue was going to be decided today, or at least discussed today. I thought they were going to be briefing it, and maybe the judge would have to decide if there was a privilege issue later on. Actually, before I throw it to you, another update. As we sit, this is from Mark Agnifilo. As we sit here today, I'm not sure when legal was written on each of them. I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. Different members of the defense team were telling him to write legal on the pads. There's a photo of a pad without legal on it. Again, this is all in relation to whether there was a big sweep at the Metropolitan Detention Center and photographs were taken of Sean Combs' notebooks. And the question was, were 19 pages or other materials improperly photographed of his conversations with his attorneys about legal strategy? What was written on the pads? What do you take away from this?
That's right. So I'm not surprised that the judge is discussing it a little bit. The judge had said earlier this week that he will hold separate hearings regarding whether these notes could be actually ultimately used at trial in May, and that's sort of later on down the line. But he did say in a filing earlier this week, be prepared to talk about what happened with that legal sort of note that was on the papers and where did it go. I'm not surprised that he wants to talk about that, because I think a big part of what the prosecution is going to try to argue to prevent him from being released on bail is potential witness tampering. And what they said earlier this week is that there was some evidence within the notes of him, trying to contact witnesses through third parties, trying to get family members to post, positive things about him on social media. So I think there's a little bit of an overlap there.
And there is certain material that was photographed that will not now be used as evidence in this bail argument. The judge said, throw out these copies. You're not going to be able to argue that prosecution to support your case. But Elizabeth does raise an interesting point here, Nima. The idea, and I think this will come up, was Sean Combs developing this social media campaign through his family really is centered around his birthday, to post positive messages about his birthday. There was this video of his family wishing him happy birthday. You can hear him on the other line from the MDC. He seemed to be happy. And the idea was he purposely orchestrated this social media campaign to influence a potential jury. And the idea would be, if he's orchestrating this behind bars, you can't let him out on pretrial release. What else would he do? Now, I'm curious your thoughts on this. Some would say, and the prosecution says, we have evidence to prove that was his intent, was to influence a potential jury. Do you think that's strong, though? I mean, we're not even close to a trial. Do you think? And also, he's a public figure. Doesn't he have a right to change the public narrative about what everybody's been saying about him?
Jesse, I'm as pro-prosecution as they come, and I believe that they have evidence that he's contacting witnesses, and that is witness tampering and obstruction. But to argue against a social media public relations campaign is really a bridge too far, in my opinion. If you're the prosecution, you got to kind of maintain your credibility. Obviously, there's the courtroom and there's the court of public opinion. There's no gag order or other order preventing him from doing this. So don't make arguments that not necessarily aren't nonsensical, that aren't really advancing your case. Focus on the witnesses and what matters, and you don't have to worry about Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and whatever.
Well, it was interesting because his son took over his social media account, his Instagram account, and was posting like music videos of his father and behind the scenes footage of his father. And we did a sidebar on what that might mean. And now we see what the prosecution is taking away from some social media posts. Okay, we have an update from court. Nima, I'll just start with you on this. So Sean Combs' lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, said, so it's clear that on November 1st, the sweep, which I'd mentioned, the sweep of the MDC, they did not all say legal, meaning it was not printed legal on his Sean Combs notepads. The judge says, the pad you handed up to me, did it say legal on it on November 1st? Agnifilo says, I'm not sure. The judge responds, moving forward, make sure representations are true. Ooh, felt like a little bit accusing the defense of not being totally transparent, right?
I think so, and it's not the first time. Going back to that video from 2016, the defense said that DHS leaked it, and there's really no evidence to support that. And I understand that they're trying to advocate on behalf of your client, but Judge Subramanian, let's be honest, this is a Democratic appointee. He has a civil background, and I'm really surprised he's taking so much time to address this privilege issue. Obviously, the attorney-client privilege is sacred, but we're talking about 20 pages. Judge, take the documents, review them in camera and chambers, and make your decision. Why do you need briefing on this? It's not something that's rocket science. Any young lawyer can determine whether the documents are privileged or not.
We have another update from court. Elizabeth, I'll turn to you on this one. This is from the judge. Ms. Slavic, this is referring to Christine Slavic. She is the AUSA, the Assistant United States Attorney, the prosecutor in this case, one of the prosecutors. Ms. Slavic, what is the status of Mr. Combs' laptop And then she responds, the laptop for him to review the discovery at the MDC. The idea is to preload the information he's allowed to have at the MDC on the laptop. There is a protective order. Interesting they're talking about this because one of the arguments put forward by Sean Combs' defense team is he doesn't have the adequate resources at the MDC to properly prepare for what is a complicated sex trafficking and racketeering trial. What is this exchange about, you think?
Right. I think they're probably pointing to an issue with privacy. And like you said, him being able to properly be able to put on his defense. You know, if he's someone who's in home detention, he can meet with his attorneys in fair confidence, you know, discuss things more freely. In prison, you're really not afforded those same privacy rights. So I think that's an argument that his team is going to be putting on.
Nima, got a question. This is from Sean D. Cole again on YouTube. Please keep the questions coming if you have a question about this hearing. If you have a question about this case, make sure to submit them now. This is with this being the presiding judge, meaning Judge Arun Subramanian. Is this Sean Combs' last chance for bail? I don't believe so. I believe that he can go to the Second Circuit and had petitioned the Second Circuit, but then put it on pause, waiting for Judge Subramanian to ultimately decide this issue, right?
Yes. So when you appeal, that really removes jurisdiction of the ability of the trial court to make a decision. So obviously the case was transferred to Judge Subramanian, but they'd appealed to the Second Circuit, which is the highest court before that appeal. But now what they want is another bite at the apple, see if the judge is going to disagree with the prior magistrate judge and district judge and actually release Combs on bail, which would be very surprising in my opinion, before they take it up on appeal.
Elizabeth, I'll turn to you on that. Again, the reason we know some of what the defense's arguments are is because I read the brief to the Second Circuit. They asked to put it on, they called it, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the legal term, abeyance. They put the appeal on abeyance and said, pause it. We're going to go to Judge Subramanian. If he actually grants bail, this is all moot, forget it. But, you know, do you think the Second Circuit would be more amenable to his arguments?
I think it would be a bit more difficult. You know, obviously, whenever you appeal a case, the appellate judge is really more prone to being guided by former precedent. It doesn't mean that judges don't overturn decisions. They do all the time, but they are more privy to be bound to prior decisions. Here in this instance, this is his third attempt before the hearing today to be released on bail. You have two prior judges who have said no, you know, for various reasons. So I think it would be harder in his appeal process.
All right, talking about the bail, we now have an update on this. So Judge Subramanian says, on the bail application, I don't have to deal with the Bustani case. The defense is saying there are extensive conditions proposed, including 24/7 security. What about the Fox case? Prosecutor responds, there was no RICO charge in that case. The judge said agreed. So now they're going through some of the case law that was debated back and forth between the prosecution and the defense. You know, Nima, I think what's really interesting, one of the arguments put forward, and I think this is, you tell me if it's legitimate or not, the defense is saying, you're just hearing allegations from the prosecution about that he's a danger here. They're relying on the allegations in the indictment. They're saying that he reached out to witnesses and victims. Don't you need to hold a hearing? Shouldn't you call witnesses to prove that? Now, it's not they don't have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. They're not trying to say he's guilty of obstruction, but doesn't there have to be more than just taking the government's word for it?
Not necessarily if the judge takes the government's word for it. And, you know, we've talked about Jeffries, but I think the more on point case, recent case in New York is Sam Bankman-Fried. Here's someone who was granted bond, started contacting witnesses. There was electronic evidence to support that he was reaching out to witnesses and trying to alter and change their testimony. And his bond was revoked and he was in custody all throughout trial. So I think that's the case. Look, I believe the government that they have evidence that these witnesses are being contacted by Combs or through intermediaries. They're not going to raise these allegations unless they have the receipts to prove it. So hopefully they do so. But I don't think you need a full-blown evidentiary hearing in a case like this or any bond hearing.
Elizabeth, you would agree with me that there was no reality where Sean Combs believed he was not going to make bail. The reason he was so cooperative with law enforcement, he'd surrendered his passport, said he was going to sell his plane, came to New York to be arrested, hadn't left the country, right? Even though he knew he was going to be arrested. It seemed to me he thought he was legitimately going to make bail, that he would be on house arrest for a year, 2 years till trial happened. I don't think he thought that this would actually be a reality, right?
I agree. And my theory is that all of these steps were taken to by his attorneys and by his legal team to hopefully assure that they can show the judge, he's not a flight risk. He's put up this $50 million bond. He's prepared to put his home up for collateral. All of these steps he surrendered to his arrest. So all of these steps to put forward to try to argue this is not someone who's going to flee. He can be trusted with home arrest. So I don't think he anticipated this.
Going to that, Elizabeth, we just have another update from court. Again, we're providing live updates about what is happening in that courtroom, considering there are no cameras there. Trust me, I could go on and on about how much of a mistake I think that is. But the judge says, I want you to address the proposed conditions, meaning the bail conditions. And as we talked about, $50 million bail package, 24/7 home confinement, no internet use, no phone use, limited visitors, visitor logs. Prosecutor says there has to be some level of trust that the defendant will follow him. Here, he will not, meaning not follow the rules. He cannot be trusted. Consider his conduct in custody after the two judges' findings, meaning there were two previous judges, Judge Carter, Judge Tanofsky, who both decided that Sean Combs was not entitled to pretrial release, not entitled to bail. What do you think about that?
Correct. Yeah, that's a really fair point. The two prior judges have denied and said he's not allowed on bail. So when you have those two decisions against you, I think most defendants would say, okay, I need to be extra cautious, make sure I'm following all the rules. I'm not incurring any potential legal troubles moving down the line. There's allegations that, he has contacted parties through third parties. He's made phone calls. So I think there's a substantial amount of information there to show that there is possibility that he could try to tamper with witnesses or obstruct certain evidence.
Nima, one of the arguments put forward by the prosecution was if he is able, if you take the allegations as true, he's able to use other inmates' PAC numbers to make essentially calls to people that are not listed on his contact list. If he's able to use three-way phone calls from jail to have improper communications, what the prosecution says, is there any belief that he wouldn't manipulate a private security team that's supposed to watch him?
Of course, that's working for him as well. And like you said, that's an absolute rule violation. Can't use another inmate's PAC number, can't make three-way calls. And apparently he's doing all this. And when he was out, he contacted a witness dozens of times. So this is all evidence of obstruction. If I'm the government, what I do is I supersede, I add those obstruction charges, not necessarily because I think that's going to add additional time, but I think that's going to be helpful evidence for the jury to hear at trial that Diddy is trying to dissuade these witnesses. That's going to bring all that evidence in.
To show that he's guilty. Why would he be obstructing unless, of course, he thought he couldn't win this on the merits? He's trying to actually obstruct the case, influence witnesses because he knows he's guilty of that. That would be the argument. Elizabeth, we have another update from court. The prosecutor says his attorneys are enabling his flouting of the Bureau of Prisons rules. Consider the labeling of the pads after the fact, meaning they marked it legal after the fact. That's interesting. Even family members, and I said that the idea would be that he's enlisting his family members to create social media campaigns, reach out to people. The judge says, what's your response if Mr. Combs says, even if they don't trust me, there'd be 24/7 security? Prosecutor responds, if he can't comply in a custodial setting, he will not comply if released. What type of security firm? They suggested a co-conspirator, one whose phone was taken only the day before. Didn't know that. That's who the potential security firm is. The second suggestion was a defense investigator in this case. And the prosecutor goes on to say that investigator has been out contacting witnesses. Essentially, they work for him. This would be the defendant buying his way out. The judge said, you've conceded that Bustani's bar does not apply here. You've cited his wealth to release him, so he can't use it. We'll get to that second argument in a second, but if that's true, this is who he was proposing to watch him?
Yeah, it's a fair point. And again, I think if you consider if he's, let's say, confined to his home and home confinement, I think there's even more opportunity for him to be able to utilize the team and the people around him, whoever they're working for, to be able to work within his favor. And also, this is not somebody who's going to be confined to a tiny little studio apartment. He has huge homes, huge estates. There's a lot of room for him to potentially go about, continuing possibly the behavior that the prosecution is alleging he's already been doing.
One of the other interesting arguments that I love to talk about here, Nima, and I'm curious if it comes up, prosecutors said there's a two-tiered justice system. Why would it be fair that Sean Combs has the resources and the wealth to turn his home into a private?
I just want to bring to your attention, they just admitted that he did send private investigators out to bloggers, Wow. Let's keep
Yeah.
going. Wow.
The only reason we're proposing such an expansive and expensive bail package like this is because of the very problems, the very concerns that the prosecution has. You say it's his wealth that's a concern. Well, we're going to show you, we're going to create such a package that alleviates any of those concerns. The reason it looks like this, and it's so expansive, it includes 24/7 monitoring and all this, is because of what the prosecution said. You can't have a sword and a shield at the same time. You say he's wealthy. You say he has the resources to flee, to do what he wants. Well, we're going to use that to try to negate those concerns. Where do you stand with that, Nima?
Well, it's not a flight issue, but a danger issue, and no other defendant, and I don't think that Jeffrey's case is similar, would be released with these types of allegations. If we did, we'd be treating celebrities or folks with hundreds of millions of dollars differently because of their wealth. So I think that's a very strong argument for the government.
We have another back and forth that I want to tell you about. It's almost like the judge is listening to our back and forth, because this is what just happened. And by the way, I really, from a legal point of view, I really am respecting Judge Subramanian. He's challenging both sides appropriately here. This is what he says, Elizabeth, the AUSA, Slavic, the prosecutor says, we're not seeking his continued detention based on his wealth, but rather danger, risk of flight, and obstruction. The judge says, is obstruction your main argument? The prosecutor says, danger to others. So the judge says, so not from risk of flight? And the prosecutor says, we still rely on that too. What'd you make of that?
I think it's important that they don't forfeit any of the arguments, and I think they're all equally important. I do think I'm glad that they've highlighted the danger issue. Again, so much of this comes back to that video of him and Cassie Ventura. He has assaulted her on that video. He later admitted to that. So that's something that prosecution can point to and say, look, there's a possibility that could happen to other people as well. It's right here in black and white on video. So I think that's one of the more strong arguments. But I think it's important that the prosecution doesn't forfeit any of the other arguments, including obstruction of justice, so that they can put on a fair trial.
Nima, that risk of flight is interesting because the prosecutors say he's facing 15 years to life in prison on these charges. He has a lot of incentive to flee. His response would be, first of all, my family, my livelihood is here. I'm not going to flee the country. I've been trying to sell my plane. I gave up my passport. I could have fled multiple times. I didn't. You think the risk of flight it works more for Sean Combs or the prosecutors?
I don't think it's a very strong argument for the prosecution. This is a style issue, right? Credibility is really important. And when the defense writes illegal on a pad after the fact, that's a problem. And if you're the prosecution, you want to save face. And if this is someone who's surrendered passports, has been willing to sell his private jets, his family's here, I don't think the risk of flight is a very good argument compared to the obstruction and the danger arguments. So I would focus on those two. And obviously you don't want to concede anything, but really just focus on, because you only need one to win, right? And I think the danger is the strongest argument.
You mean you only need to convince the judge whether it's obstruction or risk of flight or danger? You don't need all three?
Generally, it's going to be danger or risk of flight, but the obstruction is important as well. So the standard is under federal law that detention is appropriate if there's no condition or combination of conditions that can guarantee the defendant's appearance at trial, and he or she is either a risk of flight or a danger to the community. Now, obstruction can come in as well, but it's typically danger.
Elizabeth, we have another update from court talking about obstruction. The judge says, tell me about obstruction. Is he listening to Law and Crime? Is there like something, does he have a microphone here or something? Tell me about obstruction. So he says, tell me about obstruction, prosecutor. Prosecutor Slavic says, he's continuing violation of the rules, meaning as we talked about what's happening or allegedly happening in jail. The judge says, is running a PR campaign obstruction? Meaning the social media posts. The prosecutor says that's not what we have here. Rather, it's his concerted effort to impact the integrity of these proceedings. Prosecutor says, he says, I want to reach the jurors. I need only one. So that's so interesting. That's the first time that we actually maybe heard, they said they would have evidence to prove that this social media campaign was about influencing the jury. So he allegedly, there's some communication from Sean Combs where he talks about, I only need one, meaning only need to convince one juror. The judge says he's not permitted to engage in any he's not permitted to engage in any conduct to impact the jury pool. That's what the judge is asking. Prosecutor says his intent, it's obstructive conduct. He's violated the so-called gag order. He's the one who asked for that order.
Right. I think the social media argument is a bit of a tough one to make. Again, as we've noted, he's a massive public figure. People have continued to post on social media about this, people in his family and his friends. So I think that's a bit of a reach. But I think it's important that the prosecution highlights, again, any sort of evidence where he specifically states, I'm trying to target potential jurors here. He might have said that with social media, a little bit tougher. But I think the stronger points lie in if there's any sort of evidence that says he's trying to potentially contact witnesses through third parties to, what prosecution is claiming, alter their testimony, give sort of more favorable testimony. I think that's what's going to be more persuasive to the
By the way, that gag order, I thought that was about not releasing grand jury materials or information that hasn't been disclosed to the public. I mean, if you're posting about your birthday, you're posting your music videos, I don't feel that the gag order applies, no?
I don't think so either. Again, unless they're commenting on something specific regarding the alleged details of this case or the indictment or anything like that. I think general content posted on social media, I think it's expected even in cases involving more private figures, let alone someone this public.
Nima, do you agree about the gag
order? I agree. It's not within the limitations of the order. And again, this is just not a good argument for the prosecution. I agree that him trying to influence jurors, that is, but just generally a blanket argument against a PR campaign and social media post, not good. No judge in this country is going to prohibit someone from posting on social media. Just so let's be honest, this is the biggest trial in the country right now, especially now that Donald Trump has won and his criminal problems have gone away. Nothing even compares to the Sean Diddy Combs trial. People are going to be talking about it. Everyone is covering it. Traditional social media. I've done dozens of interviews just on law and crime about it. So for a judge to say that you can't post on social media about your birthday with your family, I mean, forget about it. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. No appellate court would uphold that order.
Clearly, you do not believe that Kanye West being sued for copyright infringement is the bigger case, and that's shocking. I didn't expect that from you. Okay, we have another update from court. This is from the prosecutor. The court entered the order on October 25th. He started his campaign on October 27th. He couldn't even comply for 2 days. The judge said, what about the, we have something. What about the Jeffries Abercrombie case where the government agreed to release on $10 million bond? And then the prosecutor says, we did a letter. And by the way, that's the letter that we read before, where basically the government talked about distinguishing Mike Jeffries. It's not only his age. We're talking about the idea that he's not charged with sex trafficking. There was not these repeated patterns of violence like they allege with Sean Combs. And so, again, now it seems like they're getting into that issue, which I think is going to be really, really important. Again, just for our viewers turning in, Elizabeth, you see that the case of Mike Jeffries, who has been arrested and charged with sex trafficking of young men using force, fraud, and coercion, that is a slightly different case because he was granted $10 million bail. He was arrested after Sean Combs was arrested, but that is a different case that you think prosecutors might have a struggle with.
That's right. I think there's some overlap. Again, it's involving massive public figures, it's involving trafficking charges, but I think there's a big difference, in terms of the racketeering charges, the amount of civil lawsuits. Again, they're alleged civil lawsuits, but against Sean Combs, there's currently over 100 similar charges. I haven't seen anything similar to that extent of Jeffries. And also, again, it keeps coming back to that video. There hasn't been any form of video evidence, at least that we've seen in the public domain. Correct. Yeah, with the Jeffries case that specifically highlights what a danger he could possibly be to the public. Again, at least that we know of yet.
So we're going to go back to more questions that we have from our YouTubers. So if anybody has a question about the case or the hearing, make sure to submit it. Nima, we have a question. This is from Sean D. Cole. Sean D. Cole, so active. Thank you so much. Does the defense argument for bail convince you that he should be granted bail, Nima?
Sean, absolutely not. Sean Diddy Combs should not be released. He is a danger to the community. The allegations are very serious. He probably will be convicted and will spend decades in federal prison. This is a very serious case with a lot of victims. He should not be released.
Here's the thing, and by the way, you'll see this anytime you hear appellate arguments, or even if you hear general arguments in a court of law. The judge will ask pointed questions from each side when he's questioning them, okay? So I want to be clear, even though you're seeing tough questions for the prosecution, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to side with the defense and vice versa. Having said this, I'm going to read you the latest from court. The judge, the prosecutor, they're talking now about the 2016 video of Cassandra Ventura, or I believe that's what they're talking about. Because the prosecutor says, I think the better comparison is the 2 prior denials of bail here, but the judge said, what about the claim that the government spliced the video? Prosecutor said he apologized. That's the point. Remember, Sean Combs apologized on Instagram 2 days after CNN published that video of him purportedly beating Cassandra Ventura back in 2016. The judge said, why did you use the splice video, not the original? And the prosecutor said it was public. So it makes me wonder, is he open to the argument that there's more context to that video, as the defense says?
Possibly. To me, it sounds like the judge is asking a bit more open-ended questions to get all the information that he can to properly render a decision about this bail hearing. I think if there's any sort of indication that that video of him and Cassandra Ventura in that hotel hallway was doctored in any way or edited, you still have the actual footage of him assaulting her. And again, as you mentioned, he didn't negate that. He didn't say, oh, this is AI or this is fake. He admitted to that. So I think what the defense team is trying to use is there's no indication that she tried to flee a freak off. I think one of the things his defense team called it was a sad glimpse in a consensual relationship, which I think is going to be their main theme in defending this case, is these were all consensual acts. So I think he's just trying to get information here. I think it's hard to negate the facts of that video.
So, Nima, I'll give you a chance to respond, but here's another update.
Really quickly, media, they dice and slice footage all day long, and they just get to the important parts. I don't think Sean Diddy Combs will be released today. Let's keep going. Wow.
To make it go away. Your thoughts on what we're hearing about this?
Yeah, I'm shaking my head because this is not edited. This is why this is important. First of all, we know that Sean Combs paid 50 or 100,000. I've heard both numbers. Apparently $100,000 to try to keep this video. Now, in November, Cassie files her lawsuit. Combs, through his attorney, says that this is all these are lies. This is all fabrication. This is a money grab. His homes are raided in March. Again, still denies everything. Only after CNN gets this video in May does Combs finally admit to lying for 6 months through his attorney. So he can't be trusted. Here's someone who's denied everything, but you can't deny this video. That's why his apology is important.
How much does it matter, Elizabeth, that this could be connected to a freak-off or sex trafficking, or does it matter that it's just a violent episode? Because, the latest update from court, the prosecutor says, does it matter if he threw a vase or the contents of a vase? He admitted to it and apologized for it. This took place in the middle of a freak-off. The U.S. has evidence a male commercial sex worker was in the hotel room at the time. So they're really trying to say this is evidence of sex trafficking.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think that's going to be important for the prosecution to say, you know, she wasn't just fleeing for any reason. It was specifically to flee a freak off. Because again, one of the things that the defense is going to try to push is that they were in the middle of a consensual act. Regardless, I think you also have one of the things that was mentioned in the indictment was the multiple assaults that he allegedly inflicted upon women. This is clear evidence of that.
We have more questions from our YouTubers, the best YouTubers in the business. All right, Nima. This is a question from Sally on YouTube. Once Diddy finally goes to trial, how long do you think the full trial will last?
I think it's going to last about a month or so. I mean, the parties have given some estimates, about 3 weeks, I believe, for the prosecution and 1 week for the defense, if I recall correctly. That means I think the defense's case is entirely or mostly going to be based on the cross-examination of those witnesses. They're going to come after them very aggressively. Now, it's still pretty early to know who exactly the government's going to call. And that's important because you have individuals who have filed civil lawsuits. They're going to be cross-examined to say, this isn't about criminal justice. This is about money. So I'm sure the government is going to want to put their very best witnesses and victims on the stand because we know that the defense is going to come after them and come after them very aggressively.
All right, we have another update from court. This is from the prosecutor. This is devastating evidence for the trial. This is, again, the 2016 video. It shows why he cannot be released on bail. He is violent and is committed to covering up his crimes. The evidence against him continues to mount. We've learned of punching and kicking employees, partners. So, again, that danger element to the bail analysis. I do have a question, Nima, for you. This is from Sean D. Kolb, again, on YouTube. Any chance for a plea deal, and is there any chance the judge will accept it? I'll give my thoughts, but first your thoughts.
I don't think there's much of a chance at all, because for there to be a deal, it has to be something that Diddy would accept. And when you're talking about these types of crimes, I mean, the sentencing guidelines are through the roof. Now, maybe he'll get less than the decades in federal prison, I said, if and when he's convicted. But this is someone that doesn't want to be in bail for even the next several months until trial in May. He's not going to voluntarily, give up his empire and concede this. By the way, let's go back and say why I don't think there's going to be a deal. Let's talk about Cassie Ventura, who demanded $30 million reportedly not to file a lawsuit when the statute of limitations was coming up in New York State, where Jesse and Elizabeth are right now. He only wanted to pay her $10 million. For $20 million, his whole life fell apart. Do you think this is someone that's going to admit to anything, plead guilty in court?
I agree with you. That seems to me the only thing. What happens if they say, we have evidence to charge your family with obstruction or other counts? We will not do that if you decide to plead guilty.
Well, family can be an absolute game changer. I'm going to be honest. As a former federal prosecutor, I put more than 1,000 people in prison, and oftentimes, people would plead to exonerate their family members. So I think that could be a potential game changer. But just as the current indictment is and state of the case with no other co-conspirators, I think Diddy's not going to take any deal.
And to be clear, there's no evidence, well, other than some of the assertions that they're putting forward in these letters about, using his family to, engage in improper conduct or contact outside of jail, or some of the allegations that we're seeing in the lawsuits. Nothing to suggest that his sons committed any of these crimes, or alleged crimes, I should say. I want to go to you, Elizabeth. We have a question from Susie Payne on YouTube. Will Diddy take the stand, and when will we see the court case? Well, presumably we would see it May 2025. We're not going to actually see it because no cameras, but presumably that's when it would start. Will Diddy take the stand?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly his right to do that. I think that his defense team would be pretty worried about that, because then again, he's going to be subject to cross-examination. And I think these prosecutors will go extremely hard, show him all sorts of evidence, including the video and all sorts of probing questions. So yeah, I mean, this is a criminal case. This is not a civil lawsuit. So
he took the stand in the 1999 nightclub shooting case, worked for him there, but kind of a different case here. Okay, so we have an update from court. The judge asks Mr. Agnifilo, this is Sean Combs' lawyer, Mr. Agnifilo. Mr. Agnifilo responds, I'm going to have Ms. Shapiro lead us off. This is the other defense counsel. And she responds, he was not dragging her back to the freak off. The judge says there was dragging. Shapiro says, I don't mean to. Judge says there was kicking. And then Shapiro says he has apologized. Your thoughts about what the judge is getting to here?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that Diddy had said when Cassandra Ventura filed her lawsuit, immediately, obviously, he denied it and said this was an extortion attempt. She was just trying to pull money out of me. Once the video surfaced, he was sort of backed into a corner, into apologizing. So I think what the prosecutor...
I think that tape is damaging. They're not going to let him out really quick, Perry. What do you think?
Oh, no, I agree. I mean, because they can fight that it was staged. Diddy sitting on this damn porch, apologizing.
Yeah.
Takes that off the books for me.
Phew. All right, let's keep watching.
Will there be cameras for the trial at least? Nope. Nope. And nope. Very disappointing. No cameras in federal courthouses, let alone in New York, except maybe in exceptional circumstances. But no, there's going to be no cameras in the trial. That's why we're doing our best right now to give you a sense of what's happening in that courthouse, providing you live updates. And of course, Elizabeth Milner from Law and Crime in that courtroom. She will come out to us later and explain what she saw and heard. We have another update from court. The judge, Judge Subramanian, says, what about the 2018 text messages with victim one about violence? And we believe that victim one is possibly Cassandra Ventura. Combs' lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, responds, we have gathered more information about victim one, even yesterday. I don't want to quote it because it's under seal and should be, it was consensual. Okay. So going back to what I mentioned before, Nima, what's today, the 22nd? They filed this yesterday, the 21st. I, again, think that the defense's letter to the judge about this 20-minute video under seal. So what are they trying to say? That everything that happened between him and, if we presume victim one is Cassandra Ventura, was consensual, and therefore that could not be used by the prosecution as evidence that he is a danger to the public?
Jesse, victim one does appear to be Cassie Ventura, and I want to raise an important point that just happened there in court. And something look, defense lawyers do, they have to advocate for their clients, but I think it's shameful. You saw that Agnifilo didn't defend Diddy when it came to violence against a woman, so they put a female defense lawyer to do that. So that's pretty common in these types of cases. That's why Shapiro started speaking. But we're talking about text messages from Cassie to Diddy. And again, going back to her lawsuit, and I believe her, she said that she was forced to have sex with male prostitutes while Diddy watched, videotaped, and masturbated. So I believe what she's saying, and there's text messages that corroborate her accounts of what happened. She has said to Diddy that I'm a human being, I'm someone's daughter, you beat me, you kicked me. That's all in text messages, and I don't think the defense can deny that.
Oh yeah, that was provided by the prosecution as examples of what was happening, and then also he allegedly threatened to. This is what the prosecution says. Exposed videos of the freak-offs if she didn't do what he wanted. Now, you're hearing the response from the defense. I've got a question from Ashley Glass on YouTube. Will the Law and Crime Channel be covering the case when and if it happens next year? We will do our best, given the circumstances of no cameras in that courtroom. So again, Elizabeth, this is a really interesting back and forth. Is there a possibility the judge will not make a decision today, or after hearing the arguments from both sides, in briefs and today, I mean, it seems probably more likely than not we are going to get a decision on Diddy's bail.
I'd be really surprised if there wasn't a decision. I believe the two prior judges were able to make their decisions pretty quickly. And again, this is a case where time is of the essence. I think both prosecution and defense are going to want to push for a decision quickly for their own reasons. So I'd be very surprised if there wasn't a decision. And federal judges are prone to act faster than state judges.
Nima, I'm going to you. Judge, update from court. Judge Subramanian asks, I don't want to quote from them, but you know the ones I mean. Again, it seems to be this information under seal. And Mark Agnifilo says, we are proposing an independent security firm. There has been mutually regrettable physical conduct going both ways. There was violence by this other person and by Mr. Combs allegedly. You're also getting a preview, I think, Nima, of some of the defense strategy when this goes to trial.
Pretty shameful victim shaming here to allege that Cassie Ventura was the instigator or violence when we saw just brutality there, right? Her being dragged by her feet, her being kicked, the vase being thrown at her. Terrible, terrible stuff being said by the defense. But again, their job is to represent their clients, so that's what they're going to do. But to attack Cassie Ventura and say that she was the violent one or the instigator, pretty shameful in my opinion.
It's always a tricky kind of avenue, especially if you cross-examine Cassandra Ventura, how you paint your victim or alleged victim. It's tough in these sexual assault cases, but unfortunately, you have his life on the line. This is what you might have to do. Whether or not it would turn off a jury or judge, we'll have to see. Comment from Angela Maria. Jesse is devastated about no cameras. You're right. I am devastated. I have no shame in saying that whatsoever. Talk to me about it's funny. Elizabeth, talk to me about the idea here. What would happen if they let him out on bail and get pretrial release, and then he ends up doing, what the prosecution says he does? He reaches out to witnesses again. He reaches out to victims. I mean, I imagine his bail will be revoked, but does that put the judge in kind of a bad position?
I would imagine it would. Again, the judge is guided by two prior judges saying this is too much of a risk. We can't let this person out on bail. And if the judge takes a chance and says, let's try home confinement, and then that happens, I think that would be devastating. And that would also really affect the potential outcome of the trial. Again, a big part of the indictment focused on the element of control and power that he had. So if Diddy is able to exert that same level of control and power over witnesses to try to block potential testimony, that could be devastating for the case.
And by the way, totally crazy here, Nima, but his team was pushing for a trial to happen as soon as possible, presumably because he doesn't want to be, in jail for the next 2 or 3 years. Risk it, go to trial. They might think they have a good defense, but if he's granted bail today, are we going to see a motion tomorrow, Monday? Let's postpone the trial. Hey, I'd like to be on home confinement for as long as possible before going to trial. Am I crazy to think that, Nima?
You're not crazy at all, Jesse. And I think the major motivating factor to push this case to trial so quickly is the fact that Diddy is in custody. And frankly, one of the reasons that people on the defense bar, they don't like their clients being in custody. It's not just preparing for trial, but oftentimes defendants will want to plead just to get the whole thing over with. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen in this case because there's so much time, but you're absolutely right. I can see this case being designated as complex, being kicked out a year or even longer if Diddy is surprisingly released.
And we have another update from court where it seems, I would say, Elizabeth, the defense is not necessarily denying that he's had communications, but they're saying you have to read what these communications are, because they just said, Sean Combs' lawyer, Ms. Shapiro, in the LaFontaine case from 2000, the defendant told someone to lie by phone from the MCC. This was another federal prison. This is actually where Jeffrey Epstein died. But it says, in the Gotti case from 1996, the head of the Gambino crime family, the witness received a kick in the ass. The government does not have that here. So they're trying to distinguish maybe what Sean Combs said. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's what the defense is going to try to push. They're going to say, you know, he's entitled to work on his defense while he's in prison. There was no sort of attempt to obstruct justice or try to sway people. Obviously, that's what they're going to claim. I think it all depends on what's in those notes, which we're not going to know about for weeks on end, and what evidence the prosecution has in terms of what did he say. You know, they're saying that they have intercepted recorded calls of him trying to instruct witnesses about what to say. So, you know, I think it's a tough one.
All right, Nima, I want to get another question from you before I have to sign both of you off. We have two new guests that are coming in a minute. I will take a quick break, but before we do, Nima, this is a question from Ivy D on YouTube. What is the prosecution's counter argument against it being consensual behavior?
Well, it's going to be the testimony of the witnesses, right? They got to show that force, fraud, or coercion. That's what separates consensual sexual activity between adults. It can be as freaky as the participants want, as long as it's consensual. So they need the testimony of the witnesses. But also, let's not forget, there's a lot of video evidence here, right? Diddy recorded these videos allegedly for his own sexual gratification, but also to maintain control over the victims. But I really think the game changer in this case, Jesse, is if there's a superseding indictment alleging the sex trafficking of minors. That takes consent out the window.
That changes the whole game. All right, so we're going to take a break. We're going to continue covering these updates from what's happening in that courtroom. Sean Combs' bail day. We'll see if Judge Subramanian is more receptive to these arguments. Will he grant Sean Combs bail? We'll wait and see. But Elizabeth Vulai, Nima Rahmani, thank you both so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back after this, and we're going to bring on Bradford Cohen and Brian McMonigal, celebrity attorneys to the celebrities. We'll be back in a second.
Listen, you have to admit that the defense is fighting damn hard. They're finally doing their job. But the tape is so damaging that I don't think it's going to happen. What do you think, Perry?
You know, they doing what they have to do, because look, let's keep it real. I know I believe he's guilty. I think you believe it.
Yeah.
And they probably know it. But so when you have a case and you know you get to do these crazy things, find loopholes to get this person out of it, I think they trying their best, even with writing, you know, legal on the bonders, right? Now,
I can't believe that.
Didn't had mentioned earlier, right, about they don't feel like he got the right equipment to fight his case and being incarcerated. Do the other do the other people that's incarcerated have those things to fight their case? Like,
what kind of equipment is he talking about?
Okay, they basically saying like a laptop and all this to help get things to fight his case. When you get locked up,
you talking about Jeffries? Did they give it to Jeffries?
No, I don't think so. No, they let him out. Remember, on bail,
right? Mm-hmm.
They basically saying he don't have the proper equipment to fight his case. But what about all the other people that's incarcerated in there? They don't either. They don't have those things. It's damning me like, I guess at that point, you go there, your attorneys go every day and get whatever. But they saying if he was home, he'll have the ability to do all these things. But he'll also have the ability to really go rogue on paying people off.
Right. Oh, that's another thing. So they admitted that he sent private investigators to talk to bloggers. Now, I just said yesterday, how do we know these are real private investigators? That freaked me out. What I mean, he's doing any and everything from inside the prison. Why would you really, if you're sending private investigators to talk to bloggers in prison, can you imagine if you got out? He might send Justin over there. I don't know. This man does not need to be out. I think the tape was damaging, and I think the text messages, because it showed his violence.
Right. And then like his defense team, I get it. They trying. Oh no, oh, this was consensual. They were just like any other loving couple. They had little fights here and there. You know what I'm saying? Look, the text messages speak for themselves. So stop it. But I get why they're doing it. Because,
I do too.
Diddy don't really, outside of either paying off people or finding some crazy loophole. I don't see him faring out too well.
Yeah. Let's see what you guys are saying. Right, Perry, I totally agree. Thank you for the super chat. Ooh, this is live. They're going after bloggers. Yeah, you didn't hear about that yesterday? Well, it's been the last 2 days. It said, damn, that's straight up stalker. Wear a body camera now. Yeah, he's sending private investigators, and I don't know what he was trying to do, and he did it wrong, is we know a lot of celebrities, they create their own fan-based YouTube channels, and they feed him all this good information. That's what he was trying to do, but it just didn't work out. He can't stop, won't stop. Child, he will not. This is just too much. They have laptops. I don't see him getting out because he don't have no damn equipment. That's crazy.
They probably got laptops, right? What they basically saying, like, if they got like a library, they can go there. But the things he want to do on the laptops is going to be traceable from the,
That's what he want to say. Yeah, that's fun.
Right? He want to go to that mansion. Now, come on, let's keep it real. I promise not to drink, not to have girls over. So you can have all guys, but that don't even save you because you sort of hit girls and guys. So even they can be there for your pleasure, right? So it's just weird that he want all this stuff and he want his private stuff, so like his laptops and stuff, so he can really send out payments, really give orders. He got access to phones. Now, even though he said he might not have one, you ain't nowhere in hell you got a security team and people that's working in your house with no cell phone or all these things. It's sort of crazy.
But we have to admit too, the defense is doing a good job. They don't have a case. So they came to play today. I used to get mad on them before, but the prosecution, they're not playing either. Right. So this is like, they're going at it. And I'm pleased with the prosecution right now. What about you?
Yeah, me too. I mean, because I think they just pointing out the facts. And when people speculate, oh, well, they don't have any evidence. They haven't presented. I'm sure they got evidence.
Right.
And like they said earlier, I think they got proof of him paying off people and trying to, get to the witnesses, right? I'm sure they get to have some proof there.
Well, the rumors is that it was Kalina who told the feds. So we'll see. It's got to be something. Too much liability on releasing him. If he harms another, the courts will face a boatload of lawsuits. Not going to happen. But I tell you, it's not going to happen. But I was worried earlier because, this is the first time the defense has come to play. Like they're trying their hardest. So, but that's the world we live in. Really, V? I would get mad at them. Here we go.
Yep.
Lots going on.
And it looked cold as hell in New York. Every time I see it outside,
It's windy, rainy.
Like, I almost put on a jacket.
Diddy Combs case right now. This is a live look of the federal courthouse in downtown New York, where the issue of Sean Combs' bail is being discussed. Now, of course, as we know, that has been denied multiple times by other judges, but this is the first time the current judge overseeing this case, Judge Arun Subramanian, is actually deciding this issue. And we're seeing back and forths between the prosecution and the defense on this. I say seeing, there are no cameras in that courtroom. Our very own Elizabeth Milner is inside that courtroom. She's going to come out a little bit later, tell us what she saw, what she heard. But what we are doing right now is providing you live, real-time updates about what is happening in that courtroom. There is reporting coming back, so I want to get into it right now. Really interesting about what's happening. Let me bring in criminal defense attorneys Brian McMonigal and Bradford Cohen, attorneys to the stars. Great to have you, gentlemen. So let me tell you about what is happening right now. So Sean Combs' attorney, Alexandra Shapiro, is having a back and forth with Judge Subramanian. I'm going to read everybody the back and forth. So first, defense attorney Shapiro says, we cited the Trump case. Defendants have greater rights to speak than their lawyers. An Instagram post, as well as I don't know if I can. And then the judge says his communications from the MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center. Shapiro says he says the prosecution is motivated by racism. So let me just be clear about this. There's a conversation, there's a discussion about what was he saying, maybe on telephone calls to other people while he's been locked up at the MDC. The other question is, was he orchestrating a social media campaign using his family to post things online that might potentially influence a jury? So keeping that in mind, Ms. Shapiro, again, Sean Combs' lawyer, says, this is covered by the First Amendment. Messages they point to are not instructions to lie. There is a barrage of negative media coverage. He has a right to respond to that. The judge asks, why not through counsel? Shapiro says, we're happy to do that. Shapiro says, but we're lawyers. It's not really what we do. Some of these recordings shows that he's telling people, just tell the truth, talk with my lawyer. And then the judge says, victim 3, you're saying the communications are fine? And Shapiro says, yes, same on witness 1 and witness 2. The judge says, what about the communications that are missing? Agnifilo, this is Mark Agnifilo, this is Sean Combs' other lawyer, says, witness 1 reached out to Mr. Combs' counsel and asked us for a lawyer. We didn't do anything along those lines because it was an odd request. I don't know the factual answer. The judge responded, how do you know not now? How do you know no? Or how do you not know maybe? Oh, it's how did you not know? That's exactly. How did you not know? And Sean Combs' other lawyer, Tenny Garrigo, says, there was a message from Mr. Combs to witness 1. I'll like to give it to you under seal. Prosecutor Foster may know it does not give rise to the level of obstruction. I do not have the actual message. Brian, I'll start with you. A lot of back and forth here. It's about whether or not his communications are a form of obstruction. It's about whether or not him even initiating a social media campaign would be to improperly influence a jury. This all goes to the issue, is he a danger on the outside? Is he flouting the rules inside? He cannot be released outside. What are you taking away from this back and forth I went through?
Well, the fact that they're debating it is healthy for him. It sounds like our judge here is trying to give a real fair analysis to all this. And this is a collision between First Amendment rights, as far as I'm concerned, and some of the requirements under bail, if there should be bail given. You're not supposed to have contact with witnesses. You're certainly not supposed to intimidate witnesses, but you're also able to defend yourself and marshal a defense and speak your mind as a defendant. And judges always have a very difficult time trying to balance those two constitutional issues. And I think this judge is struggling with it because this is a man who's on trial for his life. His liberty's been taken away from him, and he's fighting back. And that would be something that one would expect of someone who's been accused of heinous crimes. So I think that today is probably, as I think you've described it, really the first opportunity for there to be a healthy debate on why he should be released.
And Bradford, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to that as well. I do want to let you know there was another update where Ms. Garagos, who again is one of Sean Combs' attorneys, says, my client obeys me. For example, on victim 3, he stopped using ASAP and other phone lines. The messages with witness 1 were pre-arrest. He obeys us. He came to New York. In the Bureau of Prisons, when I tell him not to do something, he does it. So in other words, if you have concerns about him flouting the rules, he will listen to us. We'll tell him what to do. What do you think?
I think that's an argument that I've often made, and I think a lot of defense attorneys make, in terms of that our clients will listen to us if we tell them what to do and what not to do. And in certain circumstances, you have clients that have not been in a situation like this before, where they're in custody, where they are getting a barrage of allegations against them. Some may have some basis of truth and some may not. And you've seen that over and over again in this case. There have been reports of different things that went on and different allegations against Sean Combs that they have then found out, these are just rumors and they're not true. I think that it's not a bad thing when a PR company or even when a defendant takes it on himself to have family members talk about the good thing that he's done in the past and the charitable things that they've done in the past. When you have a case like this, where they are just every day, there's something that is coming out, something that is leaked by either the government or a party that's involved or someone that's interested in the case, where it is affecting, that could have affected a jury. I think that, that release of that Cassie tape, and I keep going back to that release of that Cassie tape, I think the tape was released because they knew that she was going to be somewhat blamed for the behavior that happened, that they would know that she would participate in these different things with different individuals, and they wanted to make sure that was cut off at the pass and essentially make her a victim and not a co-defendant. And I think that's why that tape was eventually leaked by whatever party that leaked that tape. A lot of not going back to that. No one's really discussed how that tape has come out, and I think it's an interesting thing. And especially when you have a judge that's interested in your story, and you have a prosecution that is interested in why he is making these, these PR moves on social media. I think it all comes back to that tape, and I think that's their strongest, quote unquote, strongest piece of evidence in terms of their star witness to say, hey, this guy's a bad guy. I do like the fact, and I will agree with Brian, that the fact that they're having a conversation, that the judge is engaging them, is always a good sign. Is it, the end all be all that he's going to grant him bond? I don't know. I think this is a tough hill to take. I think it's an uphill battle whenever you have an individual that's facing the type of time that they're facing and the type of allegations to get a bond. Certainly the bond package is pretty extensive. In my opinion, a $50 million bond is nothing to, sneeze about.
And to go into that, about one of the areas where I think Judge Subramanian seems to be receptive. He actually told prosecutors early this week, be prepared to talk about this. It's coming up right now. And Brian, I'll ask you about this. So this Ms. Shapiro, who's Sean Combs' lawyer, says, I submit the charges in the Jeffries Abercrombie case are worse than here. They allege an international sex trafficking business. They were raped and forced to engage, and I'm not going to say, but in a certain kind of sex acts. And by the way, the argument here is, and this is what the Judge Subramanian said, is distinguish prosecution, why it is Sean Combs, after putting forward a bail package, as we said, $50 million, 24/7 private security firm, limited visitors, visitor logs, no internet use, no phone use. Why is he denied bond when you have Mike Jeffries, the former head of Abercrombie and Fitch, who is just arrested and charged with sex trafficking? Why is he out on $10 million bail? And by the way, the prosecution responded earlier and they had a back and forth about this. He's 80 years old. Sean Combs is 55 years old. Sean Combs is charged with racketeering. He's not charged with racketeering. Sean Combs has alleged instances of prior violent behavior, not the instance with Mike Jeffries. But here you're seeing, Brian, where they're saying, we actually think the Jeffries case is worse. What do you make of that?
Well, it's brilliant. And I think that's the road they have to travel because it's precedent. You're not supposed to have different rulings for like-minded cases. Disparity in treatment is always frowned upon in the federal courts. And here they have a significant public interest case where bail was set at $10 million by agreement. It wasn't debated over. The government agreed to it. Now we come over to Sean Puffy Combs' case, and they're objecting to 5 times that amount for someone who I don't believe has ever been convicted of a federal crime or a felony. I could be wrong about that. And they're putting restraints in place that make the previous bail package pale in comparison. So they're right to make this argument. It's precedent. It's precedent within that jurisdiction. And I think the judge is going to look hard at it. You've now got two rulings that have gone against him. So he's got to look at those rulings and those judges. But he's also got a situation where the government has agreed to bail in a situation if it's not as bad, it's pretty darn close by accusation.
Mm-hmm. And look, I think they could, look, it's also a different court. This is this is the Southern District of New York. That was the Eastern District of New York. But even you put that difference aside, this seems to be one of the more compelling arguments put forward by the defense. Bradford, we're also taking questions, by the way. So anybody who has questions about this case, submit them on YouTube. If you have questions about the hearing, submit them. We have this interesting question from Sahara Useri on YouTube. Why did Combs get a new judge to begin with? It's interesting, right? Because I believe we had a district court judge or a magistrate judge, then a district court judge, now Judge Arun Subramanian. Why do you see a reassignment of a case like this? Why is it now in the hands of Judge Arun Subramanian? Why do you see this happen, Bradford?
Well, on federal cases, we always appear to begin with in front of a magistrate. That's usually the first person who hears the case, if it's a bond issue, and or if it's even a preliminary issue. A lot of times court judges will give magistrates the power to rule over different kind of motions to suppress and motions to dismiss. But we always go in front of a magistrate that's associated with the judge, and then generally you then go to the judge that's going to have your case. It just depends. Sometimes you go to a temporary judge until it gets assigned. A lot of times judges don't have time for the type of case that it is, or they might not have the schedule that will behoove a trial in a certain period of time. I believe that this trial is being set for April, and it might be the other judge that was assigned already has a case that's set for April. That's not uncommon. I don't see that as like unusual. We've seen that in many cases. I've had many cases where judges have changed at the beginning of the case. It's usually unlikely that at the end of the case that you have a judge that'll change once they've heard motions and once you've done discovery and things of that nature. But I don't find anything of that unusual. Magistrates are always common. You always go in front of a magistrate first, and those are usually randomly assigned. And then a judge is randomly assigned, and then another judge can take over at any time. It's not that big of a deal.
And by the way, I wish we had cameras in the courtroom, but based purely on the arguments that we're seeing and have seen with Judge Subramanian, I feel confident to say this feels like a very fair, well-reasoned judge. The way he was pressing the prosecution, the way he's been pressing the defense, it's really something to take note of. And that's kind of the judge that's exactly the kind of judge you want in these cases. There's a question that we have from Samian on YouTube. I'm curious, Jesse, why did the prosecutor not reference the R. Kelly trial? They might not have referenced it today, but it was in their filings. I think it was even in the very first bail filing. They referenced the R. Kelly case. They referenced the Jeffrey Epstein cases as why it was justified bail for Sean Combs. Here's another question. I'll throw this over to you, Brian, from Europees Hunar on YouTube. If Diddy gets out of bail, does that mean that he gets out immediately, like this hour?
It'll happen pretty quickly. He'll have to go back. Usually you have to go back to the detention center that you're being housed in. There's some paperwork that has to be done, but I would think it would happen pretty quickly. It would be tonight, unless there's some other snafu that occurs in trying to get it done. But for a high-profile case like this, they'll move quickly on it. All the eyes of the world are watching it. I think it'll happen pretty quickly. It'll certainly happen, I think, sometime tonight, if he rules tonight. I mean, that's, some judges recognizing that there could be an appeal of this ruling will take the time to issue a written opinion. And that would be the only reason I would think this judge would hesitate before ruling in this case. He seems, as you've described it, to be a really fair-minded and thoughtful guy. That is his reputation. And some of those judges that are more thoughtful and more fair-minded issue written opinions, which he may do in this case.
We have another update from court. Ms. Shapiro, again, defense. While in Jeffrey's case, one defendant is 80 and the other is 71, Mr. Combs is 55. I hate to say it. It's not that young, because that was one of the things the prosecution said. Like, you're dealing with an 80-year-old. Yeah, you're dealing with an 80-year-old. You're dealing with an 80-year-old. He's 55. You know, he's much younger. He's more of a danger. The judge says the U.S. suggests he won't follow conditions. Shapiro says these conditions are more restrictive than in the prison. Again, I kind of laid out what some of the conditions are. Bradford, your thoughts?
I think the argument that one guy's 80 and one guy's 55 is, if I was a judge, I think that would fall on deaf ears. The 80-year-old might be more willing to do something crazy because he's 80. You know, it's like he only has so much time left. Anytime you give an 80-year-old is going to be a life sentence. So if the guy gets 5 years and he's 85 years old, that's not that young. So it's, the argument itself is not great about the age. I think the stronger argument is maybe that in the RICO charges, they're charging some sort of violent behavior. That's probably a stronger argument because the Abercrombie and Fitch CEO doesn't have a history of alleged violence or participation in violence. But the allegations of the sex trafficking are very, very, in my opinion, are worse for the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch. And it's just, you know, it's funny that it just by happenstance, these cases happen together. If it didn't happen together, you'd have nothing to compare it to. You'd have to go back to a different sex trafficking case that someone didn't get bond. So it just so happened that this worked out for Sean Combs, where the Eastern District comes to an agreement on the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, and it works in his favor. I think that you have to lean very heavily on this guy could make a run for it at any time, right? It's not just that he's a danger. It's also that he's a flight risk, they were arguing. He could have made a run for it at any time. He has jets. He could have gone to Mexico. He could have gone anywhere, and he never did. He surrendered when he was supposed to surrender. In fact, they didn't even allow him to surrender. They picked him up at night at a hotel when they knew that they could have called him and he would have just surrendered in the morning. I think that it goes to show a lot of bias, obviously, on behalf of the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I think a judge like this judge, who used to be a clerk for really, really good judges and was in the commercial business world and kind of looks at things that way and looks at objectivity that way, I think was a real, real good thing for Sean Combs here, because a lot of other judges that have been kind of jaded by the criminal system might not give him as fair of a shake as this judge is. And this judge is fairly new to the bench. So I think that benefits Sean Combs as well.
It's interesting you say that, because I want to read you the latest from court right now. So the judge says, Mr. Agnifilo, where is the home he be in? So again, if you're talking about home confinement, Agnifilo says, I don't want to give the address, but it's on Star Island. There's a causeway. This is in Florida. This is Miami. There's a docks, but there's a dock, but there would be no boat. The judge responds, that's not going to work. We're in New York. Agnifilo says, give me a moment. He comes back and he says, there is an apartment on the Upper East Side. We have one available, 3 bedrooms. The judge says, where are the 24/7 security going to be? Agnifilo says, would you like to speak to him or me? It's Patriot Security. They merged with Crisis 24. So, Brian, now, is this just the judge doing his full due diligence about understanding what bail would look like? Or is this kind of potentially a sign of where he might be going? And by the way, we have another update. He says, Agnifilo says there'd be 2 security guards in the apartment and 1 downstairs. So a total of 3, no access to phones or the internet except for calls with counsel arranged by the security personnel. This is more restrictive than in the MDC. Brian.
I think he's leaning toward letting them out. The response to the judge, by the way, about jurisdiction is crucial. Most courts, no matter where you are, if they're going to release you, they're going to release you to that district. And so I was kind of surprised that the bail package didn't originally provide for that, because no one's going to let him go to Florida. But I think this judge is giving real serious consideration to letting him out. Think about it. All the headaches go away. We don't got to worry about the FDC. We don't got to worry about what's happening at the FDC. We don't have to worry about counsel complaining about the fact for the next 9 months that they don't have true access to discovery, that the defendant doesn't get discovery, that the defendant doesn't have the opportunity to defend himself with counsel. All those issues go away for you as a judge. He's not running anywhere. And if they're right, and he's foolish enough to engage in threatening behavior while he's out on bail, that will be the first piece of evidence they introduce at his trial. So I think the judge is a pretty smart guy, and I think he well realizes that the original bail package probably should have been something that they gave serious consideration to. You know, he's presumed innocent. You know, the presumption of innocence all of a sudden fades away when we talk about celebrities. But he's presumed innocent in this case, and bail is for people that are presumed innocent, and he is.
And from the prosecution's point of view, you know, in one hand, if he is let out, engages in obstruction, they can not only have the bond revoked, but gives them more evidence for potentially a superseding indictment, more evidence for at a trial. But the downside is they don't want to be in a position where witnesses are threatened or intimidated and don't cooperate with the government. So it's kind of a tricky situation here. We have an update here. Bradford, I'll go to you. Ignifilo says, Mr. Combs would avoid all contact with anyone who may be a witness. I think he has a right to do that, but I want to make it as easy for the court as possible. We are going to investigate thoroughly before the May 5th trial. He has a right to assist. Your thoughts?
I think that, like I said before, I think that, you know, every argument that
you on mute. Sharrell, you on mute.
Whenever you're a defense attorney, and Brian knows this as well as I do, and you're representing a high-profile individual, sometimes there are.
I said really quickly, are they about to release this fool?
Well, I mean, the judge is given
Can you hear
this
me?
leeway.
Real quickly.
Yeah. I think he's definitely considering it. Go ahead.
As the argument is progressing and his attorneys are adding on to the bail package that he's not going to have any contact with anybody, he's not going to have any phones. And a lot of times when I have clients, high-profile clients in federal or state court, and I offer 24-hour security, I usually hire ex-FBI, ex-DEA, you know, and I'm sure the company that he has is probably along those same lines that give credibility to the security that's going to be watching him and you know, making sure who's checking in and who's signing out and things of that nature. All those things add up in a judge's mind to assure them that they're doing everything possible to kind of stay out of the way and not get in trouble. I honestly do think, listening to what's going on, the judge is giving serious consideration to allowing him out on bond, which to me is a surprise because a lot of times in federal court, you don't get that fair shake. You know, when you have these allegations and you're representing someone who's high profile, a lot of times these judges have made up their minds. I mean, if we want to feel like every judge is fair, we want to feel that the judicial system is fair, but a lot of times that the judges have already made up their minds, and it's very difficult to get a bond on this case. And I think that his defense attorneys are doing an excellent job in putting together this bail package and explaining it to the judge and coming up on, and often you find yourself doing this, coming up on the fly where the judge says, hey, that's not going to work. Florida's not going to work. I need something else. And it's like, yeah, I got an apartment on, you know, the Upper East Side. It's a 3-bedroom apartment. We're going to put them in. That's not easy to do. And it is a hats off to his defense for coming up with those things on the fly and being able to modify their argument that way. And I honestly think when a judge starts asking questions like that, he's very strongly leaning towards granting a bond.
Well, it's good when you're a multimillionaire. You could just, where am I? Where's this case happening? Yeah, I got a property around the corner. Let me ask you this. So this was brought out by the prosecutors earlier on, where they said, okay, want to talk about the security team? So they say, because the judge asked, you know, what are we talking about? They said, what type of security team? He's suggesting a co-conspirator, one whose phone was taken only the day before. The second suggestion, was a defense investigator in this case. That investigator has been out contacting witnesses. Essentially, they work for him. So the reason I bring that up is because the judge just said the government is saying Mr. Combs would be paying these people. It comes down to trust. Mark Agnifilo, again, Sean Combs' defense counsel, says it's a different relationship. There are professionals that are only going to be in his life for 8 months. It's a high-profile case. He goes on to say he's been in jail 66 days without a laptop. He only got one a few hours ago. What is unique here is to have waited 9 weeks to get a laptop into the MDC. The judge says the solution is for you to come to me. We can call these hearings, which get things done. Okay, so that's a separate issue about what the resources he has. The question, of course, Brian, is can you trust the security team? Prosecutors say, A, they have the connections to him, but B, even if they didn't, he has a way to compromise people. If he's in prison, if he's in jail right now at the MDC and he's using inmates' PAC numbers to make phone calls, that's the question. Can we trust the security team? What do you make of that?
As my brilliant colleague just pointed out, the way to go would be to make sure that you've explained to the court that you've got a team that is beyond reproach. And I'd be a little stunned if that's not the case. They should have former FBI, former New York police, somebody that when the judge hears their bona fides, he's going to say, you know what, this is somebody who's got some intellectual honesty. This is somebody who's not going to risk their reputation for a payday. And so I would expect that if the judge does release him, he's going to want to see that. He's not going to want just somebody on this guy's payroll to be overseeing him, during these 9 months. I can assure you. So I'm surprised if that's not the case.
Right.
And knowing Mark as I do, who's a preeminent lawyer, they'll make sure it is the case. If they've already provided a team, they'll get a better team. If that's an issue with the judge.
Let me ask you this, Brian.
And Jesse,
I'll ask you both this because this is a question that we got from one of our YouTubers, Floss Daily. Who pays the security company? If Diddy's paying it, is that a conflict? I'll allow either one of you to address that. If Bradford, you want to address that?
Sure, yeah, because I was going to add in, it's an absolutely great question. And what I do is to kind of take out the stench of any kind of impropriety that you think could go on. I figure out, okay, if it's 24-hour security for 8 months, it's going to be $250,000, $350,000, whatever it's going to be. And I instruct my client that we put that money in my trust account and that or a company is hired to pay them separately from just the defendant. So they're not relying on the defendant to get a paycheck. It kind of takes that sting out. I mean, there's always going to be a sting of, hey, I'll give you an extra $1,000 if you do X, Y, Z. You can never kind of get rid of that that kind of thing. But you can take out one of the links in the chain and say they're going to be getting their paycheck from either ADP or they're going to get the paycheck from my law firm, but they're not going to be relying on the defendant to get paid, and they can't be threatened like, hey, you're not getting a paycheck unless you let me use your phone. A lot of times that also helps in these situations where a judge is asking about, how is this going to work with this 24-hour security? And they're going to be behooving to him because he's the one who's paying it. I think it takes out one of those links, and it also benefits the court's decision. It eases their mind on that issue.
Brian, I'll give you an opportunity to respond to that, but we also have another update from court. Mark Agnifilo says, I have a whole presentation ready about the tape, but if you've got enough, I can save everyone 15 minutes. The judge says, I have reviewed it. Who is here from pretrial services? Pretrial services comes forward and says, we maintain conditions are insufficient. The judge says, have there been other cases with private guards? Pretrial services says, not that I'm aware. What do you think, Brian?
Happens all the time. Pretrial services, they do a great job, but, they're a government entity. And in a case like this, the default position always for pretrial is going to be detain. It's easier for them to do that. This judge knows that. One of the other things that came to mind while I was listening to Bradford was, I wonder if the government didn't do themselves a disservice by this untimely search of the cell.
Yeah.
Where they shook his cell down. They allegedly looked at privileged materials. That's a no-no. And I don't think this judge was all too pleased with it. And I think he started doing the math in this case and started thinking to himself, it may be easier for everybody, including the government and the prison officials, if we let this guy pay a lot of money for a private security firm to keep him from fleeing, and we'll get this case tried in a timely fashion. I won't be running into court every week or two with a complaint about discovery. He didn't get his computer. We've got so many terabytes to go over. We don't have the ability to defend. It puts so many issues into a case that can be easily resolved with agreeing to the bail package. So it was just another thought.
And
yeah, Brian's
Bradford,
100%
yeah,
correct.
Bradford, jump in on that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's 100% correct. So first of all, there's been cases in New York. I've had cases in New York where we've recommended private security and got granted private security. And around the country, when you look at these high profile cases, there's been many, many cases where private security, one of them is NBA Youngboy, who had a case in Louisiana. He had private security as part of his bail package in Utah. Kodak, who I represented, he had a private security as part of his bail package. It's happened many, many times. And I think the number one takeaway that Brian is so right on is that this searching of his jail cell was so very stupid by the government, and they just can't help themselves. Like it's really sometimes, they can't help themselves. Even when they have cases that they feel are good, they want more.
Just to be fair, they said this sweep of the MDC was it was comprehensive. It wasn't just aimed at Sean Combs. His defense team says it was a pretext, but just to give you the other argument.
I have a very cheap bridge for sale for you. Listen, I think that this was I think it was a target. I find it very hard to believe that it wasn't. You had a specialist that was there that normally is not there. He's taking pictures of items that have nothing to do with what they're searching for, phones and drugs and things of that nature. I find that very hard to believe, and it just is shocking sometimes when you look at the government, when they have so much power, they have so many assets that they can use to obtain guilty verdicts, and they want more. They always want more, and in this case, I think this bit them in the behind. I think that the only reason this judge is being so I don't want to say he's being so reasonable. The only reason that this judge has considered some of these arguments, I think, and they're not falling on deaf ears, is partly because of the prosecution's dream that this was just, this was something that was going to happen, and we didn't mean to get his notes. And even though we had his notes, we had a team. We put up a Chinese wall. They have every excuse in the book. But once you taint a case with something like that, it's very hard to regain a judge's trust. And I think that's why a lot of these questions are being asked of the prosecution. And in addition to this guy who got out, the CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, I just think a lot of things came together for Sean Combs to give him this opportunity. And this is his best shot.
So we have another update from court where the prosecutor has now jumped in and said, consider witness one a participant in multiple freak-offs. Defendant continued to contact witness one after counsel was retained. The Instagram post was planned for a week using Contact Me ASAP and other inmates' codes. Really, really interesting there about that, basically suggesting that Sean Combs is engaging in obstruction. I wanted to ask you, we have a question from one of our viewers that I think is fascinating. And Brian, I'll throw it to you. Are there any additional bail conditions the judge could impose on Sean Combs? Could the judge place Sean Combs under the supervision of the Federal Probation Office?
I have never seen that being done. I mean, anything that the probation office could do would pale in comparison to what the defense has already submitted. You put somebody on a bracelet. I mean, they don't have the resources to have 24/7 guards in the U.S. probation department. More importantly, that's not their role. So fair question. Why not have the feds protect him and police him while he's out? It's not the way the system works. And more importantly, I think to all of this is, there has to be an ability for somebody to defend themselves. And what the prosecuting team seems to be relying on here is his efforts to really defend himself. He is looking for help. He is looking to try to line up witnesses, to marshal a defense, to reach out to allies, to get friends and family to get on social media so he can start not winning the battle, but just try and making the landscape a little bit easier and more even. And so I don't know what this judge is going to do. But I would tell you, constitutionally and legally, the easy thing to do would be to allow this bail package to be put in place. And the worst thing that could happen for the defendant would be if he spit in the face of the court once the court gave this to him.
Yeah. And by the way, that brings me to another point. So Bradford, we have an update from court. The question becomes what he was allegedly doing while at the MDC. We can have a back and forth about whether or not he was actually engaging in obstruction and what the contents of his messages were, versus was he just violating the Bureau of Prison rules? If they tell him not to make a phone call or they tell him not to do this, whatever the contents of it were, if he violates the rules, the idea is he violates the rules of the Bureau of Prison. What makes you think he won't violate the rules of his bail? The reason I say that is because the prosecutor said his family member said the lawyers say not to do it, and the defendant responds, "I don't care. It's my birthday." This is in regards, presumably, to that whole social media campaign about surrounding his birthday and the birthday video. So the idea would be he just didn't care. He violated the BOP rules. The judge said, Ms. Shapiro said sharing codes is common with other inmates, and the conduct was covered by the First Amendment. The prosecutor says the Bureau of Prisons handbook prohibits this. So it becomes a question, the content of what he was doing, Bradford, versus did he just straight up break the rules? And if he just straight up broke the rules, is that a concern for why he shouldn't be granted bail?
So the rules that he broke are broken on the daily basis. Like it's so idiotic when they just overshoot every time and say like, oh, it's three-way calling. He broke the rules. I don't even know how many times. I'm sure Brian has been through the same thing. I don't know how many times our clients call us with three-way calls and using someone else's PIN. And it's not that they want to discuss anything. It's all attorney-client privilege when they call us, unless it's a three-way call and there's someone else on the line, then it's not. And I always let my clients know that. But a lot of times they'll use other people's PINs for different reasons. Like even when they call me from a different PIN, it's because they feel like the government's still spying on a discussion between them and their lawyer. And they could be right. It's not like they're wrong. And a lot of times, or they want to call, they're married and they want to call their girlfriend. So they use, one of the other guy's PIN numbers. It's so commonly done that I don't even consider it a flagrant violation of the rules. I don't even know if they give shots, and what a shot is they give them some sort of a warning or some sort of pink slip for using someone else's. I don't even know if they do that anymore because they're more concerned with the drugs and the cell phones and things that are snuck into the jail. This is such a minor violation that the government here is saying is such a massive violation that unless they can really tie it up with that he's doing it to contact these witnesses and threatening witnesses, if the judge has real life experience, which I'm sure this judge does, he's going to look at that as a very minor violation of the jail rules. And I don't think that shows that he's going to flagrantly do things if he's let out. I just don't think that's a good argument.
Well, here's the question. This is a question from Jasmine Milan on YouTube. I'll throw it to you, Brian. Couldn't he just have his family members do all the things that he isn't allowed to do? That would be the question in terms of if he's out.
If he's out. Yeah, I mean, I think we end up chasing our tails with some of the issues here. I mean, if he's out, he's going to do everything he can to defend himself. If he's in, he's going to do everything he can to defend himself. If he's in, he's got to jump through all these hoops to have contact with the people that are going to do everything they can for him to defend himself. Remove the hoops. Bradford's got it right. I think I got 4 three-way calls during this session, for God's sake. It's happening. There were probably 20 of them from this detention center while this was happening. It happens every day. And it goes back to that central thing that I keep thinking, this judge seems like a really brilliant guy. The headaches here are all driven by the fact that they've taken away his liberty before his trial. Right. All those headaches, every single one of them, put aside for the sake of argument, the government's concern about threat, every one of those headaches that inure to the defendant in terms of constitutional protections go away.
Yeah.
All of the headaches for the court in policing this go away. They become somebody else's problem, and know well that if there's one issue, somebody goes sideways a little bit, somebody makes a phone call somewhere,
right,
he's detained within 5 minutes of that incident. So the easy thing to do here, and I've been kind of, saying this for a month, is to let a guy have a $50 million bail package.
I'm going to give you another question, Brian, because you know what? You're right. We've been beating the same kind of drum a little bit. I have another question for you from one of our viewers. Before I get to that, let me just give everybody an update about what's happening in court. Prosecutor says defendant has used at least 8 inmates' codes. He's bought them. The judge says they say contact me ASAP operates through TrueLinks, the trust fund limited inmate computer system. The prosecutor says it's not permitted. In the Jeffries case, one is detained, and the judge said that's a foreign national. Okay, so making a little distinctions here. But I do have a different question for you, Brian, if I can find it, if I didn't lose it. This is from Latoya on YouTube. If he is convicted, Brian, and sentenced to prison, what happens with the civil lawsuits?
Well, I mean, the civil lawsuits may all at some point be indefensible. Once he's convicted, again, making sure all those civil lawsuits have some relationship to the charges here. To the extent they do, they become indefensible. There'll be a conviction. That conviction will be part and parcel of the evidence in the civil case. He'd have to be deposed. If he was deposed while his case is on appeal, he'd have to assert the Fifth Amendment. The Fifth Amendment is an admission in a civil case. Those cases, if they are related to this event and he is convicted, become indefensible.
All right, we have another other update. Prosecutor says this is more similar to the cases where detention was ordered, talking about R. Kelly, Keith Raniere, Larry Ray. Bradford, if you're sitting in that courtroom and you're representing Sean Combs and the prosecution mentions these other people, R. Kelly was charged with sex trafficking and racketeering. How do you distinguish Sean Combs from those cases?
Well, the funny thing is, and it's not that funny, is that different areas have different issues with bond and how bond packages are done. In the R. Kelly case, I don't think, number one is they came up with $50 million. They didn't have 24-hour security. They didn't have electronic monitor, taking away his cell phones, his computers, etc. They didn't have any of that. So if you want to compare apples to apples, I think, and my opinion is that the best case scenario is that Abercrombie and Fitch CEO. I keep going back to it. It happened very soon in time. It was in an area that is right next to New York City, which is the Eastern District. He was allowed to surrender. He was given a $10 million bond. The guy still, nobody even knows. If I was in a room with the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, I wouldn't know him from anyone, right? If I'm in a room with Sean Combs, I'm going to recognize him right away. So it's a little bit of a different situation. The CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch can disappear to Morocco. No one's going to recognize the guy.
He's got. I mean, have you seen his face? He's got a quite a distinguishable face, but that's a separate kind of issue. But anyway, yeah.
I have. But and the common man does not know who the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch is. I would argue that Sean Combs is known pretty much worldwide, especially even at this point, and that I think lends itself to really distinguishing him from the rest of these individuals. And we always say like, hey, money does this or money does that. And it's true, of someone without substance might not be getting a bond on this case. But that's the whole point of bond, is that it shows your commitment to appear in court, to not violate the rules, to do these certain things. So as you have more money, obviously the bond is higher in amount to make that more of a damaging thing. Like, someone worth $100 million, if I put up 50, that's really hurts me, right? It's just like if someone was $100 and they put up 50. So the thing is that that's the difference between Sean Combs and these other cases, is that his bond package is completely different than what was being offered in those other cases. And the fact, I can't get beyond the fact that he just stuck around. He didn't go anywhere. Not that he could have. I'm sure the feds had their eyes on him 24/7 before they filed charges. but he stuck around. He didn't go anywhere. He informed them of where he was flying, when he was flying, where he was going, when he was going during that whole period of time. And then when he knows that he's going to be arrested, he flies to New York in preparation. And instead of allowing him to surrender, like they would allow anyone, I mean, he's there to surrender. Instead of allowing him to surrender, which a judge would have looked upon that favorably and said, oh, he surrendered himself, they go to his hotel and they pick him up at 9 o'clock at night. It was a real, to me, spit in the face. And I think the reason they did that is because they knew that Sean Combs was trying to organize this PR thing and was trying to put on a good show in terms of, hey, listen, mea culpa, I didn't mean anything on this video, and I'm going to rehab, and all these things that are good for his case. They got, I think, frustrated that the perception was starting to sway a little bit. And then that Cassie tape came out and perception kind of went down the toilet, because once you see it on video, it's very difficult to then you see all your friends kind of abandon you. So, you know, it just frustrates me when you got a guy that is willing to do all these things and you still, you know, don't want to agree to a bond.
So I know we've been keeping you guys for a while. I want to, we're going to take a break. Before we do, I want to get some final thoughts, but I want to give you some updates from court. And Brian, I'll start with you on this. The judge just said, I suggest both parties put in letters by Monday at noon about what type of communications Mr. Combs may engage in. Monday at noon. So that's interesting to think about. What does it mean? He's going to be out or he's not going to be out? But his lawyer, Combs' lawyer, Tony Rico, said, we have to email for a week to get him a file folder. Then he said his adult children are willing to obey. He's not a lawless person. We spent hours at the MDC. Mr. Combs was writing down what I said. He's not out of control. DOJ is responsible for the MDC. Those phone calls from me all the time, and I hang up. Just your thoughts on what we're hearing here.
I go back to it. I think this judge is really giving serious consideration to allowing him out and trying to figure out a way to do so where the government's concerns are alleviated, to stop communications, to prevent the wrong kind of communications. You know, a lot of the listeners that have asked questions are seeing, you know, justice play out here, and what a difference a judge makes. You know, there are a lot of judges I just listened to Bradford's arguments, all brilliant, that would listen to it and say, thank you very much, have a seat, denied. This is one of those judges that listens. This is one of those judges that balances. And what a difference a judge makes. And he could very well, if not today, Monday, make a decision that's favorable to Mr. Combs.
So speaking of which, we have another update. Mr. Rico, again, his attorney says he has access to cell phones in the MDC, but not under our conditions. He fights, he kicks, he makes phone calls. This can be addressed. Thank you. Judge says we're going to get a decision out prompt next week. Bradford.
Yeah, I think that's the smart thing to do. Listen, smart judges don't just make decisions off cuff, right? They go back to their chambers. They think about it. They have very, very smart clerks that you know, that know the law, that give them case law to back up their reasoning. And, you know, judges sometimes have gut feelings when they've been on the bench for a long time, and lawyers too. You know, we've been doing this for a long time, and you have a gut feeling what's right and wrong, and then you got to find the case that tells you that you're right. So I think that it's smart. I think that smart judges put out smart orders because they know they may be appealed, or they know it's going to be publicly read, and that's just what they do. So I'm not shocked that he didn't make a ruling from the bench. Just as Brian said very early on, he wouldn't be surprised either that, you know, the judge is going to take some time and do a written order, because that's what good judges do. Good judges do written orders. They don't shoot from the hip, and they don't automatically say one thing or the.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry. Okay, guys, I just got an update from the person who told me in the beginning. They're going to postpone it a couple of days, but he's definitely getting bail.
That's what it sounds like.
That's what it says.
It sounds like
he's definitely going to get bail. I apologize to people that are helping me, and I just didn't think this was going to happen.
Damn.
And it's
Well,
good that he doesn't announce it today because I wasn't prepared
right.
emotionally. Let's
Yeah, it's crazy, but you know what though? So like I said, if
wow.
they gonna do it for, I mean, like I said, I mean, you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. At the
Wait, hold
same
on. I
time,
want to hear what he's saying.
go ahead.
Let's see. Hopefully he's got a different word.
Is that he wants those letters Monday. We'll make a decision
Yeah,
next week. This could possibly be Sean Combs' last weekend behind bars. We will see. But the court has been adjourned. Gentlemen, let me tell you, Brian McMonagle, Bradford Cohen,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your brilliant insight, your analysis, your generosity with your time.
So yeah, that's the same thing I was told. So you guys, we have to prepare. Looks like Diddy's gonna get bail. This is on Monday. And let me see what
Yeah,
you guys.
and I just feel like the biggest thing was it. Yeah, the prosecution being antsy and trying to do a little too much, but if you're in the same state and you got the federal system letting one man out on $10 million bond, that's similar, whether it's the exact thing or not. Then, that's how I sort of feel like that was a big thing that, to help Diddy get out.
I always look at this case through Kim Porter's eyes, and it doesn't mean that he's not going to jail, you guys, but most likely, the rumors is it's Trump. I don't know if that's true or not. All I know is this man is going to get bail, and I was kidding. I'm not going to throw glasses, but I'm just shocked. That's all. And yes, both attorneys are doing their jobs. They came to play today. Prosecution's doing good. They did the best they can do. Defense did the best they could do. And that's, I don't know what to say. Perry, take over.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying this. Look, at the end of the day, the man gonna get bail more than likely. I mean, just how things laid out, the questions that was asked, arrangements, when you start getting into detail, how you would live if you was out on bail, it's a hint that that's where he's gonna go. I'm sure he's gonna draw up, have something in place that he know exactly where he at and all these different things. But I think because at the end of the day, as much as we can feel he's guilty, and I feel like he's guilty, and he still will have his time in court. But when they let Jeffries out on 10 million, how can you really explain not letting him out? I mean, I think it was a big thing.
I didn't even know Gene Deal had said that. It's a lot, but I always said, after the Casey Anthony case, I don't have any faith in the justice system. I think it's designed for the person with the most money.
Yeah.
And all right, guys, I'm gonna get off of here. We've been on here damn near 4 hours. And thank you guys for watching with me. And we will resume this on Monday. And I don't know what else to say.
Did you drop the link to our new channel?
Oh, yes, I forgot. You guys, I have a new channel. I have a new reality TV channel. The link is up above. I'll leave it in the description. Perry has a new politics channel. We'll leave that in the description. And we got a lot of new projects going on. But we will be back on Monday, and justice for Kim Porter. All right, you guys, thank you for listening. Talk to you next time.
All right, bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.